Hi, everybody. Welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 72. I am your host back in the basement to talk about a week's worth of wrestling with my co-host and teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Minus one thing, because it sucks.
What?
NXT.
Oh, yeah. We did. That is true. We should update you on the new format, right? So tell them what we have cut out and what changes we're sort of making.
We cut NXT because it sucks, and we replaced it with Impact because it sucks less.
Yeah, and I'm probably still going to quickly run down NXT in the Any Other Wrestling Business section. So it's sort of flipping things around a bit.
Did not watch it.
You watched a tiny bit, right?
Because you had it on, and I did not want to watch it at all.
And so we're a bit late again this week. I apologize. My younger son had 2 basketball games today, which I am a coach for. So we were down in the top end of the big city, the big smoke as they call it in Toronto. He beat a team from Toronto pretty handily by 20-something. And then they had a close game, but they lost, I think, by 9 to a team from St. Catharines. So they came super far. But anyways, a really good day. And
I made a custom character.
And you
2K.
stayed home and had the house to yourself for several hours, which is the dream, right? So lots of video games, still in your pajamas, which is a pretty solid day.
Yep.
Not that you have pajamas, but the clothes you sleep in, shall we say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was pretty much my day. And then tonight we found out that we are going to head down to like a party down the street with some neighbor friends of ours. It should be
I learned of it fairly recently, like less than an hour ago.
We are going to, I think it's an indoor and outdoor party, which is interesting because it's December in Southern Ontario.
It is December. It's like...
But I assume they'll have
early December.
They'll have a roaring fire outside, right? It's normally in our neighborhood, even though it's like kind of like suburban feel to it.
We got like one decent snowfall so far, and then now it's one of those periods where there's no snow, really.
And where we live, it's totally normal just to have a raging fire in your backyard, right? You probably don't know this, but that's not a normal thing in regular communities that are packed kind of, because we're basically in like a subdivision, right? So in a lot of places you don't, but everybody here basically has a fire pit, and that's how we roll. So I'm sure that's how we'll survive outside tonight. Or they might, I think they have a propane heater too, but anyways.
Or I just won't go outside.
So it'll probably be all the kids inside doing whatever kids do, and all the grown-ups outside doing what grown-ups do is usually what it gravitates to. So that should be fun. But so sorry we're a little bit late, but we are still going to get it on a Saturday. Haven't missed a Saturday, right, in 72 weeks. That's pretty impressive.
I think so. I want to say we might have missed
Did
one.
we push one to a Sunday, maybe?
I feel like we definitely did.
We might have, but let us know if you're listening. Remind us if you remember that fact. But anyways, I don't know.
If you do that, you win a special prize. TBD.
Sure. A DVD?
TBD.
Oh, TBD.
No, I like my DVDs.
To be determined. That's funny because it kind of ties into something in my news, which means, should we get into that now?
Yeah, I mean, nothing else new other than Advent Calendar started, so that's fun.
Oh, right. So you've got your Lego one on the go?
Yes.
My favorite is that we got your brother, who is obsessed with basketball. So your mother looked really hard to get him that Advent Calendar that's a basketball one, but clearly it's just made by some private individual. It's not an actual, like, licensed company one. So how many days is he in now? 4 days in?
You got one basketball
Only
thing?
one thing has been basketball related.
Piano, Winnie the Pooh, and Pinky.
Yeah, so we got a basketball keychain, which makes sense. Then a crappy...
It was green, though.
Then a crappy little 3D printed piano for some reason.
It looked fine, but it's weird.
Then Winnie the Pooh figurine. Then a Piglet figurine. So nothing basketball related. So now...
Except for the one thing.
The fun of it is kind of seeing like what kind of garbage he's going to get every
and then
day.
you got that Lindor one.
But a friend of ours, this little girl, is loving all the little trinkets he's giving because he's just... Your mom's taking them to school for our friend Steve to give to his daughter, right? So she's enjoying the Advent Calendar more than your brother is. But now I'm just kind of into it because I want to see... We were guessing out of 24 things, our prediction is 4 will be basketball related.
Right. And another thing for me, it's now less than 2 weeks until Spider-Man No Way Home.
Right, which you have big plans to see it 18 times or something.
3.
Whatever. I like hyperbole, you know that.
Yeah. But so me and my friends, like, we pre-ordered tickets on Monday as soon as we could get them for the local place.
Yep.
And I don't know if anyone else's theaters do this, but they do like recliner seats there, so that's why we usually go there, and it's closer and cheaper.
Heck
but
yes, closer for the driver to get you there.
So I don't know if people listening don't know, if you know, you know, but
you know.
This is like probably the biggest movie of the year, I would say.
Yeah.
Like it's like that big Avengers Endgame, the 3-hour one, but like for Spider-Man, I don't think it's 3 hours, but like
hope not.
And it's it's like super popular. And even here, like I'm not sure how many people are going to see it, right? So we wanted to get tickets.
Fair enough.
And then
I
know my friend, he's already said he's going with his family the day after that we're going to see it. We're going on opening day, which is ironically the last day of school too, before the break. So that kind of works out nicely. And then I want to try to maybe go with the one friend that I'm going with on opening day on the Sunday after, so 2 days after.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am in the process of tricking my aunt into taking me at some point on the Christmas break.
And so we're hosting you and all your meathead friends here before the before the movie, true. Right? So that's fun.
A pre-game?
Pre-game, order some pizza and you guys can do whatever you do.
Yep. But so yeah, other than that, nothing.
All right, well, let's get into talking about some wrestling, because I assume that is what people are here to listen to.
That's what people are looking forwards to.
So our first segment, we'll be talking about the week's news and rumors. And it looks like the ratings this week are in. We've got Tuesday's live WarGames Go Home edition of NXT 2.0. I'm still going to do the ratings.
All of.
Out of curiosity. I did watch it all. It drew 637,000 viewers, up just under 2%, and earned a 0.15 in the key demographic, up 7% just over. So they drew their best audience since the Halloween Havoc special on October 23rd. So not that was that long ago, but at least over a month, right? So slight gains for NXT this week, and we'll talk about the show later on really, really quickly, I think. Wednesday's live AEW Dynamite, they drew 861,000 viewers, so they were down just over 4% and earned a 0.31 in the key demographic, which stayed exactly the same as last week. So this week's Dynamite drew the lowest normal time slot viewership since May 19th, so that's not great. Mm-hmm. And the key demo rating tied last week's show for the lowest also since May 19th. So NXT up a tiny bit and Dynamite down a small amount this week. Any news for you? It was a slow week. I only have like 2 things that aren't that interesting.
So a couple things. Well, segue. Speaking of not interesting,
yeah.
A couple things from the main roster. So the WWE title match for day 1, which is WWE's New Year's Day pay-per-view.
I keep forgetting all about that, to be honest. And I don't feel like they're promoting it that much either.
No, and it's such a basic name too, right? Like it honestly feels like a name for like you know when they did like a Starrcade, but it was basically like a televised house show, like Smackville.
Yep.
It sounds like something like that. Oh, remember, that was on my birthday, 2019. Remember? I remember you telling me because I remember we were at like I think we were at Paul's. I remember I was watching Smackville.
Right.
Anyways. So WWE title match is Big E, Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens.
Yes.
Which that's a pretty good like 3-way if you had to choose one. I mean, I would rather just Big E and Rollins, but I don't see the harm in throwing Kevin Owens in there, I guess. And then also Roman Reigns, a week after he won the Battle Royal, Sami Zayn lost Roman Reigns in I believe it was like 21 seconds.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he looked beat up before, so I think something with Brock Lesnar probably, and then Roman Reigns just speared and guillotined him.
Uh-huh.
So they continued their great booking of people on the main roster. And I remember they put a thing out on their Instagram like, who's going to defeat Roman Reigns? And then I'm just like, freaking nobody, because they won't build anyone. But actually there may be somebody, because Roman Reigns will be defending against Brock Lesnar at day 1. And for me, this is why I watch main roster every week, because I love seeing these fresh and new matchups.
That is sarcasm.
Yep.
Yep, very much so.
That does not interest me whatsoever.
No, me either, really. I'm sure we will watch it still because we like to suffer and
I want to punch Brock Lesnar in the face.
I wouldn't recommend it.
No, but I want to.
I have my lame news. One is Matt Hardy has teased a gimmick change for
that's good.
For his big money Matt persona.
That might be good, actually. I'm not a huge fan of that.
Well, his quote is, I plan on gearing more towards Matt Hardy going forward. It seems the AEW audience appreciates real, so I'll focus on being more authentic, which would be great.
Oh my god, wasn't that like his thing? Remember when he was in that weird phase between Broken and then Big Money Matt?
Yes.
Remember he was like, that's
serious
funny.
Matt Hardy. So we'll see where that goes. I do like more realistic stuff, so I hope that I'm on board. Not that I want to really.
The difference is I don't like Matt Hardy.
I'm kind of done with Matt Hardy as of 2021.
Plus,
but
I don't like either of the Hardys at this point. But if I had to choose the more interesting Hardy, I would choose Jeff Hardy. I'm
kind of done with both of them. But anyway,
no,
so let's see what happens, I guess. And it could, if it's weird because he has like a whole faction, right? So if he's changing his character, it's kind of interesting to see what'll happen with the faction. But I guess we'll find out. Anything else?
If I could, I would cue the Celebrate Good Times song, but I
boy.
cannot because Beth Phoenix is stepping away from NXT
right.
commentary effective after WarGames.
Yeah, I don't find, like, I like Beth Phoenix, but I don't find she adds much in that
She
role,
sucks,
to be honest.
But I hate pretty much all of the commentators in WWE, but I probably hate her the most.
And to be fair, again, they have people in their ear telling them what to say a lot, so it's probably not her fault.
But she's just pretty bad at it too, I think.
I don't know. If she were allowed to speak for herself.
I think it's kind of interesting that she's stepping away right after Edge returned on Raw and was confronted by Miz and Maurice.
So you think she's coming up to the main roster for a
intergender
tag
I wouldn't
match?
put it beyond them, especially because they got like the day one. Maybe they want to.
Could
That'll be some sort of marquee kind of viewer drawing deal.
She's better in the ring than on commentary, so.
Not a high bar, but yes.
My only other thing that I thought was really interesting is that Impact Wrestling released a VHS tape in 2021.
Oh, I saw that, yes, of
Slammiversary,
right? Yeah,
so a quote, extremely limited collector's edition and double cassette VHS of the 2021.
Double cassette, like it's like a two
VHS.
Oh, like
you can only fit so much on one.
Like a 2 DVD disc deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So Slammiversary from this year, and
which I think that's even a weird choice.
I actually clicked on the link and went into Impact, and it is already completely sold out. Now that sounds impressive, but it doesn't. We don't know how many copies they made, right?
I think it's funny that they
if you sold out 12 copies, it's not that impressive.
That's so weird.
If it was thousands, that's kind of impressive. But anyways, what else do you have?
So I think there was going to be a Canada WWE tour. I think there was live tours. I think this month.
Yes.
And which I don't think we're gonna.
I was talking about it at lunch today with the other wrestling fan. The only other adult I know who's a wrestling fan right now.
Yeah, and then so I think in January 2022 they were gonna come for like Raw and SmackDown.
Okay.
But I think that's been pushed to fall of next year.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if there's still that live tour.
I would go to a house show at this point.
I think there is.
If there was one.
And
in the
even if there isn't, there is. Like I don't remember exactly, but I know like that. The aforementioned one I'm talking about is like it's a Raw and SmackDown and then a Super Show, which is what they're calling those.
Right.
Live events now, the house shows.
Nice. Any other news from you?
The Young Bucks are ranked number 1 in the second PWI Tag Team 50.
Can't imagine who else it would be.
Yeah.
Honestly. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that makes sense to me.
Good for them.
Looking forward to getting that issue.
Right, and that's good for them because they've probably been the best tag team for years. Yeah. Like they were, I remember they always like voted as the top tag team of the year, but like they've only done Tag Team 50 twice, and FTR was the top of the last one. I think number 2 in the last one was, I want to say, I think it was Hangman Omega, and then I know the Bucks had to be like top 10, I think. So now they had a really good year.
I know I say it all the time, and I don't even know why, but I don't want to like the Bucks. But man, every match they have is entertaining. So what can I possibly say? And
then finally I think we mentioned a while ago, but Omega did vacate the AAA Mega title due to injuries, and so AAA has been working on a replacement AAA title match, AAA Mega title match.
Multi-man, right?
Right, and so the original challenger, El Hijo del Vikingo, is in the match, and so it's a 5-way for the vacant title. It'll feature Vikingo, Bandito from ROH, the ROH champion.
If you haven't seen him, he's great.
Samurai Del Sol, FKA Kalisto.
Good as well.
And AEW's Jay Lethal, and more interestingly, Bobby Fish.
That should be like potential to be a really, really fun match, right? So I may try and find it.
And I find it interesting. The original backup plan for Omega versus Vikingo would have been Vikingo versus Phoenix versus Dragon Lee versus Laredo Kid.
Love Dragon Lee and Laredo Kid too.
In Phoenix.
Yeah, obviously.
But it had to be changed to the 5-way due to other card obligations. Like Phoenix and Penta were the tag champs, but now they're facing FTR. And Dragon Lee and Laredo Kid are also busy in other matches.
Nice.
So I think the inclusion of Lethal and specifically Bobby Fish is kind of interesting. So I don't know. I might check that out. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I could probably check that out. I wouldn't mind seeing it.
I can't imagine either of them win, though. I'm not even sure if Vikingo will win.
They're just there to fill it out and make it fun, probably.
Maybe I could see Bandito winning. Maybe even
Vikingo would be my
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if he's ready or not, but I hear great things about him. I've only seen him a couple times, and he's pretty impressive.
But that is it.
All right. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of news and bring us to the first wrestling segment, which is now, because we're doing them in the order they appear during the week until we get to any other wrestling business, then it doesn't matter. So that means we are now starting out taking a look at this week's AEW Dynamite.
And our opener for this show is Bryan Danielson taking on Dark Order's number 5, aka Alan Angels.
And it's because he's a hometown boy, right? Is that,
yep.
I think,
that is correct.
He seems to be wrestling all the members in their hometowns, it seems like.
Kicking their faces.
So far, yes, he did. And remember this.
Kicking Colt Cabana's teeth out.
Because this match they basically built, and I always say I hate when they build stuff online, but I happened to see a tweet Danielson sent, right? And I thought it was awesome. Something about that it was this touching story that this guy was going to be wrestling in his high school gym and whatever, and Bryan was going to go easy on him, but I can't remember.
He called Bryan an asshole.
Or something like that, yeah. So then he basically said that he was going to just take it out on him now. I thought it was really cool, actually. It was a fun way to sort of build a bit of interest to the match. Even though I complain about internet builds, this one actually added a little something for me.
Yeah, and it was essentially another entertaining enhancement match involving Bryan Danielson. And it was good. There towards the beginning, there's a brief back and forth, corner chops and a leg kick, followed by a crowd count punch from Angels, lefties, of course, because he is a lefty.
That's correct.
Like a weirdo. Bryan takes control and hits repeated knee drops to Angel's face. Corner chops and kicks by Bryan. Who he seems to kick lefty, but then isn't like he's a right arm.
Yes.
So I find that kind of interesting.
Yep.
Running corner drop kick by Bryan. Repeated corner uppercuts by Danielson. Angels counters an uppercut into a backslide pin for 2. Bryan wins a back and forth by locking Angels in the Danielson special, which I only call it that because that's what it's called on 2K.
Right.
It's essentially like a double underhook suplex into an armbar. So it's a nice little
It's
move.
cool. Yeah, it's a nice quick transition.
It's just an armbar at the end of the day, but it's a nice transition
It
into
is.
it.
It looks cool.
Rope step shotgun dropkick by Angel sends Bryan out of the ring. He falls to the low pay suicide dive and then a moonsault to the outside. He misses a top rope dive and the ring rolls through, but then is able to hit a standing Spanish fly for 2, a la Sammy Guevara.
Yeah.
Actually, it looked kind of similar to what Guevara usually does.
It did.
Running knee by Bryan, and he hits those repeated wrist trap stomps, and then locks in a snap knee bar for the win. And then after the match, we get one of Tony Schiavone's in-ring interviews.
Yep.
Which I think he's done like every week for Bryan now. I want to say maybe not after Evil Uno.
There's definitely been multiple times for sure.
I know he did last. I want to say it's been every week since this whole thing has started. Bryan sarcastically says it's hard to tell if he is ready because if that is the best Atlantis guy, he whipped his ass and kicked his head in. He says last week he knocked Colt Cabana's teeth out, and this week he tore Angel's ACL. And he says he hears there's a member of the Dark Order from Long Island, and he will kick their head in 2. He says in 2 weeks in Dallas, Texas, at Winter's Coming, where the Cowboys are from, that is where he takes Hangman's AEW title and kicks his head in. And Hangman starts to walk down, because he was on commentary for this, actually, forgot to mention. They have a lot of guest commentators on this show and next show, but I think it's to fill the absence of JR, which I find odd, because they don't usually do that.
And it's very Ring of Honor, because they've been obsessed with guest commentators.
I don't mind it here because they made some good choices, and then also it's like they at least kind of have a reason to.
That's right.
I mean, I don't personally think they need to fill that spot.
Yeah, but at least it's relevant people, right, to the match that's happening.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he starts to walk down, but Tony Khan did say that he would be fined if
they can't touch. Yeah.
Right, they can't touch for this show. Silver reminds him of that fact, but he can, and that's what he will do. Silver runs down the ring, but Bryan abandons the ring and says they can't touch this week, but he would love to slap Hangman in the face and fight, but the people in the end don't deserve to see it.
Right.
And in fact, John Silver will be the Dark Order member facing Bryan next week. Very
interesting to see heel Bryan Danielson, right? Because he is such a amazing babyface, but I think he's doing a great job as a heel as well. So I thought the match, first of all, that Danielson was more smug this week than he has been in the past, with really good facial expressions, I thought, especially near the beginning.
This turn's been pretty sudden for the most part, but I think it's gone really well so far. Yeah, he's doing great, honestly, because as much credit as he gets for being one of the sport's best baby faces,
he's a good heel.
But he's fantastic in either role.
He is. And so this, for me, with Angels specifically, seemed to be booked more appropriately than a lot of his matches, right? Like, Angels got in a couple flurries, but Danielson was dominant, right? And picked up a dominant victory, and I think that's how it needed to go. Because before... I think Angels is a really good wrestler. I'm not saying he's not, but the way he's presented within AEW, he shouldn't be competitive with Danielson or Omega like he was, right? So I thought this was a really appropriate use of him. I liked the match for what it was, like a dominant win for one of your top tier talents. I don't think it's the choice I would make for an opener, although I'm not sure.
I didn't mind it, actually.
It's just not a normal hot opener by Dynamite standards, right? I'm looking for a barn burner, craziness, competitive match. This wasn't that, but I think it definitely served its purpose, I think.
I agree.
And honestly, for Alan Angels to be able to wrestle Bryan Danielson in front of his hometown crowd, like in his high school gym, that must have been like the biggest thrill ever. And I think I saw a post that he said something like, I have the best job ever or something, and it was just a shot of him across the ring from Danielson. So yeah, I thought the match did its job.
Not like he's like, oh, they made him lose his hometown.
No,
because he wasn't gonna.
He's not gonna beat Daniel Bryanson. Bryan Danielson ever.
That's worse than calling him Daniel Bryan.
But to even just have a match with him, because he
makes you look good.
Danielson is revered, right? He's one of the all-time whatever greats. So just to be in the ring with him in front of people you probably know must be really, really cool. Whether he's going to win or not, I don't think it matters. But yeah, the match did its job. I'm fine with it. And the post stuff, I thought the crowd reaction to Danielson's heel interview was great, and that Bryan's doing really nice heel work, like you said.
Silver amused me quite a bit.
Me too. And in this promo he had some heel logic, right? He hurled some insults. He backed down like a chicken from John Silver, which is good, and he antagonized Adam Page. So he did a whole bunch of stuff. He got a lot done at the beginning of this show, and most of it is like really simple, just classic stuff that works. When I added this to my notes, when the lines aren't scripted, right, and the performers can talk like actual human beings might talk, instead of having a creative team write it for you in the most unnatural, ridiculous language, so you sound stupid, you have trouble reciting the lines and sounding like a good actor because it's not natural.
It just comes off right? Or
so
like
this
it just
is more
looks
natural.
unnatural, or like it looks fake, or acting, I don't know, whatever.
So this works way better. I liked it.
I like this too. I thought it was a good choice for an opener. I mean, like, it's not your ideal opener, but I think it was still a good choice. They've been working these Bryan versus Dark Order matches very well, I think, because they've all operated as essentially enhancement matches, which I think they should.
Yep.
Because I think each Dark Order member has made Bryan look strong, because he's got a solid victory every time, but each one's got a fair amount of offense. Like, Uno, Cabana, and Angels, I don't think they ever got more offense than they should, and if they did, it's like, it's not noticeable.
Yep.
And Angels gotten some cool stuff here. I didn't know you could hit a standing Spanish fly, so that was kind of cool.
That was nice.
I thought Bryan's finishing offense was great as well, and that was well done. And the post-match stuff was good. I thought the way Silver said his stuff and his lines was funny, because he's like, you can't touch Bryan, but I can touch him.
He's just a really engaging, entertaining guy.
He's a funny dude,
yeah. He is.
So I thought his little thing was cool too. I think the fact that Bryan's running away from him is kind of funny, because
me too.
He's like a little boy.
Yeah, exactly. But he's the chicken heel, right? So he's running away, and that makes sense.
Next we get a promo from Miro. He's in like this weird white.
Yeah.
It was different. It's like, and then so he's cutting the promo, and there's the odd time where like it'll cut to him like screaming at the camera or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those kind of things.
It's almost like they just, because a lot of his promos do feel very much the same, even though I think they're all awesome, right? But maybe it's just their way of making it a little bit different. Or it's like when sitcoms and things used to or maybe they still do, they flash to like you're in heaven or whatever, right? It's just this, you're suddenly in this white space sort of thing. So I don't know if that's what they're doing,
it's that kind of thing, yeah.
Because he's speaking to his god, right? So I don't know.
I feel like it works.
It was different.
Yeah, so he talks about being pushed out while he was looking for love, and he says now, however, he will be feared. He talks about what one does when his head and his heart are in direct conflict with each other, and then he closes with these are the words of the Redeemer.
Right. So he made another reference to his neck being a glaring weakness, right? Like, which I really like, because that's the story they've been telling. I don't understand
how it started. Like, I know, like, Fuego targeted it, but I don't know why that's his weakness.
Because I think that revealed that it was, because he almost pinned the unpinnable Miro after a couple DDTs. So then everyone's like, ooh.
I'm trying to remember if he ever had a neck injury, maybe.
I don't know. But what his line was something about, his weakness separates his head from his heart, right? Because his neck is literally in between those two things. So I thought that was a really cool line. So it seems like he's kind of snapping here, right? He's hearing voices and having visions now. So I don't know if there's something about he's going to fix his neck, but it seems like they're setting him up to be even angrier and more aggressive, and I'm not sure what that would look like, right? Because how does he get more aggressive and dominant than he already has been? But I'm interested to see where they go, for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was a little bit of different style, but pretty much the same.
Not as much humor as sometimes.
Yeah. I'm not sure where he's going now, but I'm a little interested. I'm a little interested to see. I guess we'll see.
Like, what does a more aggressive Miro look like, right? Like, where does he go from here? But it could be good.
They were booked into a bit of a corner in the tournament. I mean, it wasn't their fault because Mox had to do what Mox had to do.
Right.
But
so he had to take a loss, and now he's going to sort of rebuild, I guess, from there.
He's only taken like really
and
2
kill some
losses.
People. Yeah.
I think, right?
Yep.
Both pretty major losses. Next we come to CM Punk versus Lee Moriarty, with MJF on commentary. So that's a good choice because MJF is good and it's kind of related to Punk.
In a Hanukkah suit that like harkens back to, I don't know if you would get this reference, but when Rockstar Spud was in TNA, so that's Drake Maverick, he constantly wore like the loudest suits, and that's what this reminded me of. So a Hanukkah, super loud, obnoxious Hanukkah suit by MJF, which fits perfectly. And
and this was kind of another one of those like solid kind of back and forth enhancement matches. Definitely not anything more.
I was a bit surprised by the way the action went down.
Yeah,
actually, but I'll let you describe it.
So there are some holds and counters at the beginning, obviously, as these typically go. A repeated shoulder block to cut in the gut in the corner by Punk, followed by a single leg dropkick on Moriarty after he was rebounding the ropes. Combo flurry by Moriarty ending in a not so impactful suplex thingy for 2. I'll talk about it after, but like his offense is super hit or miss for me because I feel like sometimes he looks good. Moriarty.
Oh, Moriarty, yeah.
And then some of it I'm like, like I don't know. I think he's generally good, but like I think his offense is kind of hit or miss.
And MJF on commentary here at the beginning was all over Punk. It was about looking tired and haggard, right? And I thought Punk did look a bit tired here, so I don't necessarily think he was wrong. Yeah.
Moriarty rolls through on a crossbody from Punk for a 2 count, and then transitions into a crossface submission, and Punk eventually gets a rope break. Roundhouse kick by Punk after a back and forth pin battle. Moriarty ducks a hammerlock lariat from Punk and then actually hits one of his own, followed by like a weird single underhook Falcon Arrow thingy.
Yeah, I didn't know. It looked cool. I don't know what it was, but
and the finish does eventually come when Punk. So he's got Moriarty in like an inverted front face lock, like you would have for like a Dragon Sleeper or an inverted DDT or an inverted suplex or something. He lifts him from that into a fireman's carry to hit the GTS for the win, which I thought that was kind of a nice different way of getting into the GTS.
Yep.
And we get a post-match promo from MJF because of course he will not let this go by without speaking. And MJF says last week Punk said he was disappointed in him. And he says he is proud of Punk for having the balls to call himself the best in the world and struggle to beat QT Marshall and Lee Moriarty.
Fair.
I thought that was a good point.
Yep.
I think at this point it's obviously just like that's his nickname, but I know what he's saying. MJF makes some remarks about Punk and Britt Baker, referring to Punk putting on her jacket and like mocking her entrance after Dynamite went off the air. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, or maybe it was Rampage or something like that. Punk says he has a lot of nerve talking about pants when MJF is wearing Larry David's pajamas, I think.
Yes. From Curb Your Enthusiasm, great show.
He says MJF can talk about him struggling against Moriarty and QT, but they're better than MJF and he knows it. Ooh, catchphrase mockery. I guess they both kind of did that. He challenges MJF to come and fight him, and MJF says too bad, and he says Punk needs him, and Punk is like a moth to a flame because he makes Punk relevant like he was in 2011.
Nice.
And he says he will win the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal in his hometown, and he will be better than Brett in Montreal and, Punk in Chicago. And he says he thinks Punk brought his dog backstage, and he does bring that flea bag again.
What a heel. Attacking an innocent animal.
He will put Larry to sleep, which is Punk's dog, which I thought that was a good line. What do you think of the match and the other thing?
So the match I kind of have issues with, and I kind of had issues with MJF on commentary because I thought Punk didn't look good, and I thought Moriarty looked really good. Like Moriarty dominated most of this match, right? Honestly. So, and then MJF did such a good job of pointing it out, right? Pointing out both of those things that I came away almost feeling like I'd rather see MJF Moriarty, that would be more interesting to me. Because I'm not the world's biggest Punk fan, right? As we've sort of talked about.
I think his run's generally been good, but this is maybe a first misstep.
So my fear is that all of MJF's criticism is leading us toward a Punk win, because he's saying how Punk doesn't have it anymore and he's tired and whatever. So I don't think that's the right move. I think you have to have MJF keep winning.
I think MJF is a great choice to finally beat Punk. I think he's
and after that match with Darby Allin, like, let him keep looking strong for a little bit. And Punk is supposed to be here to help people look good and put people over, like the next generation, right? So, anyways, I thought Moriarty.
Actually do it.
This was my favorite Moriarty match because I'm kind of like you. I've seen him sometimes where I'm not impressed. I thought he looked really good here, but I'm not sure I like this as part of the overall Punk MJF story. And then the aftermath, the promo, I thought MJF was right about a lot of it, especially the in-ring work, right? Like, he did barely beat QT Marshall and Moriarty. So I thought the exchange, the back and forth was good, but a little bit too long. And I think AEW needs to just be careful that they're not overexposing this storyline specifically, right? Because it's just been a 20-minute promo last week, a match with him with MJF.
To be fair, the one last week was awesome.
But then we've got him on commentary and an interaction afterward, and I thought Punk looked sweaty and out of breath after not a very long match. So
against Lee Moriarty.
I don't know if this helped the feud for me, really. I came out thinking almost I'd rather see MJF Moriarty. But I did like, because the Britt Baker callback is, remember, Punk said that MJF has been replaced as one of the
There's
pillars
that too, right?
By Britt Baker. So I think that's why he's like, oh, you love Britt Baker so much, you're trying to suck up to her because you want her, sort of thing. Was it what he's saying? So I like that. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of how I felt about things. What about you?
I thought it was a fine match. I thought Punk looked fine, a little more tired, like you said. I thought Moriarty looked solid. I think because some of his offense is good, but then some of it, it doesn't look super impactful sometimes. Yeah. Punk, the new lift up into the GTS, I thought was kind of cool, a different variation. And the post match stuff was pretty good, probably better than the match. I'm wondering if we'll probably get this at Winter's Coming, or maybe they'll hold off until the New Year's show. Yeah,
could be. I don't know either. We'll see. But it seems like they sure are going to deal with it every week for quite a bit on Dynamite.
So next we go to a Britt Baker interview. Baker says it was disgusting what Tony Khan did to her on Rampage, and now Riho has a title shot. I know, I'm disgusted too. Hayter says she had one of the best matches in TBS tournament, and Baker mentions she lost. Then Hayter kind of snaps back by saying Baker lost last time against Rosa too, which that was kind of interesting.
Decent point.
Baker says Hayter will face Riho next week, and if there's anything left of Riho, she can have her title shot. She signs off with DMD. And my first thought was Hayter versus Riho. Woohoo.
Right. And it's funny because that match that Baker and Thunder Rosa had kind of made Britt Baker, but it's forgotten that she didn't win, right? Like, she came out the star from that match for sure, but she didn't even win. I thought this was fine and nothing special. For me, the last couple weeks, I'll come back to it. Ever since like Full Gear, I think there's some issues going on, but Britt's been missing a bit of her edge for me the past couple weeks. I think she needs a legitimate contender to focus on and build something with and cut promos on, right? And again, the tease of like tension between her and Hayter, I don't really care, right? Like,
no, but I thought it was kind of well done here.
I don't know. There's something missing for me from Britt the last couple weeks. Like, she's always going to cut a pretty good promo, but I don't find when she's focused on someone specifically, I find that like MJF, right? That's when she's at her best. So until they get her in a program with somebody, and being in a program with Riho is not going to help because Riho can't respond to anything.
And it's clearly a short program.
Right.
Like, unless they're facing off at Winter's Coming, I guess. Even then, I don't see it as a major feud.
Me either. So Britt was solid as usual. It's just, I don't know, there's something missing the last couple of weeks for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was fine. Pretty standard for Baker nowadays. I didn't mind the slight tease of tension between Hayter and Baker. I can't say I care too much, and it feels a little soon. I'm pretty sure like they joined up in maybe, I want to say it was like August.
And Hayter's so nowhere near Baker's level, right? So what's it going to be? They have a match. Britt Baker has to win in dominant fashion. Like, there's no suspense there for me.
Yeah, Baker's not on her level.
And who's going to turn babyface? Neither one of them are very, you know what I mean? If that's the case.
I guess Baker's pretty popular, but
yeah, I don't know. So it doesn't really interest me actually.
Next we get, I don't even know what to call this, but so Adam Cole comes out. He does his whole entrance and then walks to commentary.
Yeah, that's right. He got a full entrance.
I thought he was doing it in when I was like, oh, yay. He starts walking back up the ramp, and I was confused.
Yeah.
And so then he goes to commentary, and then Orange Cassidy comes out, presumably for a match. But then they have a stare down, Cole and Cassidy. The Bucks go for a sneak attack, but then Cassidy turns around, hits the Kicks of Doom until a low blow from Cole, and the Bucks mock him with, like, the like the mock kicks, but like instead super kicks, and then actually hit super
one.
kick them. And then Chuck Taylor and Wheeler Yuta chased them off with chairs as they were going for the triple BTE trigger.
So again, you let your buddy get beat down for a little while, right? Like that kind of bugs me.
Oh, maybe
sometimes.
they had to find chairs.
They were in the washroom or something. Like, I don't know. But anyways, this didn't do much for me. This feud seems kind of forced to me. And again, it's two groups that are nowhere near the same level, right? So I don't know. Best friends don't really feel like a legitimate threat here to the Super Click or the Super Elite or whatever you want to call them.
This is the Super Click.
And it's definitely like a step back for the Super Click right after the program they were just in. So I don't know. I've got some issues post Full Gear, to be honest, at this point.
Yeah, I think Kenny Omega's got a big void. He's left a big void.
Yep.
I thought it confused me because I thought Cole was doing a promo and then he did because he did a full entrance and he went to commentary and then Orange Cassidy came out. So I was like, oh, it's probably like Cassidy versus Bobby Fish or something.
Right.
Which I was like, okay, cool.
That's fine.
And then it turned into what just happened. And I don't get it. I thought it was fine and all, but it was just really weird.
I agree. Just kind of forced a little bit to me.
Yeah. So then we get a quick promo from Tony Nese.
Yep.
Sticking with the Premier Athlete gimmick.
He is.
He says Guevara does not deserve to be TNT champion. He says on Rampage they'll put the TNT title on a Premier Athlete. He says Guevara learned what happens when he gets in Nese's face, and if he thought that attack was bad on Rampage, he tells Sammy to wait until Friday. What'd you think?
I actually like this. It was simple. Nese came across as a serious, like, legitimate threat, and the match could be good. I kind of like that he's doing the Premier Athlete thing because it's like they're taking their gimmicks from WWE and going, here's what would happen if you did it better, right? Like,
I do kind of like that, right? It's
Aleister
not like
Black's
they're just
doing
ripping
that,
them
or
off.
Malachi Black's doing that. Ruby Soho's kind of doing that. Like, her gimmick doesn't seem much different. So it doesn't feel cartoonish and hokey like it did in WWE, right? Like, already he just seems like a real person who is a bit arrogant and cocky and immediately wants to come in and challenge a champion. So I was totally fine with this.
Mm-hmm. I like this as the first outing for Nese. I haven't seen him yet. All the stuff he's done is on Dark and whatnot.
Right.
Although it doesn't say much for him that he's facing Guevara on Rampage when all of Guevara's previous defenses have been on Dynamite.
Yes.
It's not that big of a difference because it's not like Rampage is a super small show, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I don't think Nese like cuts an amazing promo, but they kept it simple here, and I think he did a good job.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. And then we get Wardlow versus AC Adams. Adam Cole Adams.
This will take a while to summarize.
Yeah.
Powerbomb.
Yeah, a club and clothesline by Wardlow, and then 4 powerbombs for the win. And then after the match, Shawn Spears just beats on the jobber with a steel chair for no reason.
That was kind of funny, right? But
that was pretty funny.
It was weird because there was nothing after this. It was just over. Like, you're expecting, all right, it's more about the story after the match than the match. Nope. It was just an absolute squash of all squashes. And then I was disappointed Wardlow didn't do the corner finisher that he has because I really like it. But I don't know. It was a squash. It was fine. I don't have much else to say.
Yeah, it was literally just a squash match, so like you said, I don't really have much to say. But I thought Spears just wailing on the jobber with the chair after
when
was
he's dead.
Super funny.
He's already dead.
He just got killed by 4 powerbombs.
Yeah,
and then he just starts wailing on him with the chair. I thought that was really funny. And then we get a quick interview with Penta and Pac. Where is Phoenix, you may ask? Pac will be replacing Phoenix in that 2 or 3 Falls match on Rampage due to an injury to Phoenix because they can't just not injure him.
Right.
Penta says they would have loved to be FTR twice, but since Phoenix is injured, they have the best ally in Pac. Pac says that he is good to fight despite missing his eye. He is wearing an eye patch. And they sign off with the Sarah Miedo.
Yeah, I thought this was solid. I thought Pac was really good responding to Tony Schiavone getting super intense there for his little bit. But, I mean, there wasn't much here. I thought it was solid. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was fine. I'm a little disappointed that's not Lucha Bros vs. FTR, but, Pac is by no means a downgrade.
No.
So I think it works out pretty well either way.
Yeah, the match should be awesome, so...
And I feel like this is the one combination of the Death Triangle we haven't really seen. So remember, Pac and Phoenix teamed for a little bit.
Yeah.
They did face the Bucks, right?
Right.
I think they unmasked Phoenix to win. But now we get to the battle of the 2 undefeated teams.
Oh my god.
And if you want to guess who the 2 undefeated teams are, and you picked good tag teams, you would be wrong, as it is Sting and Darby Allin versus the Gun Club. Of course, represented by Old Man Billy and weird-looking Colton.
Old Man Billy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that these are the 2 undefeated teams in AEW disgusts me. Gun Club have been on Dark forever, though, and the fact that Sting and Billy Gunn are going to face off in any match in 2021 is sad and disgusting, too. And other than being a little more cocky and doing some sneak attacks, what makes Gun Club so heel and unlikable? Like,
I mean, they're not I don't like them, but
no,
it's not
but
because they're heels. It's
right,
just because I don't care.
Right, and I mean, sure, they attacked Paul White a little while ago, but I see that as a favor. And
Nice.
if anything, that's
Right.
a good thing.
That's endearing.
Right.
Yeah.
They still suck, though. It doesn't make them healed. They have always sucked. And so my description was BORING, a tag match between a talented future star stuck teaming with a 60-year-old goth versus a tag team star of a bygone era and his not-so-talented son, accompanied by the slightly more talented son.
Yikes. Shots fired.
Yes. I don't like you, Sting. Notables, there's not a lot.
Nope.
Brief back and forth between Darby and Colton until Billy and Sting tag in. Yay! And Darby does have like the full face paint because he's teaming with Sting, so it's got
Gotta
like,
have the full face paint to sell for half the match.
Right.
It's important.
And I think Darby Allin with the full face paint is really unnerving.
Yeah.
I don't know,
it was weird.
It just looks weird. Sting gets the better Billy until he backs out of the ring. Gunn catches a dive from Darby and his big slam thing. Gunn club Boris all by methodically beating on Darby. Colton locks in a scorpion deathlock on Darby in front of Sting. Almost as bad as Sting, too. So,
it was.
Good for him. And a Sting hot tag. Whoop, whoop.
Yep.
Exciting. Austin Gunn lands a cheap shot on Sting, and then Darby hits a suicide dive and landed bad, but he did survive, so he's okay.
It was so bad that I was like waiting to see him reappear.
Right, he like crumpled on the ground.
And when his face popped up, I was like, okay, he's alive at least.
Right. A famous surge Sting for 2, and the finish comes with the Scorpion Death Drop for the win. Of course, Darby Allin does not look good here. He does not get the win. Of course, it is Sting. Gotta make your new stars look good.
Yeah, I'm glad Darby was okay after that suicide dive. It looked bad, and I mean, I don't know how many people need to hurt themselves or almost hurt themselves on suicide dives before we sort of dial them back a little bit.
It's pretty much like he puts the suicide in suicide dives.
He does. He and Escobar too, right? Like theirs are crazy. So I don't know, man. This match was just okay. The flurry near the end was kind of fun, but watching Darby,
it beats last week, I think. Watching
Darby Allin take a beating from two not so talented guys to set up a Sting hot tag is not my idea of entertainment, right? So I'm hoping this angle, whatever this is over. But
to be fair, you have said that there's a right way to use Sting. This is not it. And
no, I didn't. I don't think it is.
I think there's few right ways to use Sting, but this is definitely not it.
I didn't really enjoy this. This felt like it didn't belong on Dynamite to me, to be honest. But
I wouldn't even put this on Rampage. This went as expected, and it was quite boring. I did not want or need to see this, and I stand by this opinion. It wasn't the worst match ever, but it was far from good or interesting. I mean, I guess it beats last week, but like, I don't want to see Sting wrestle. I don't want to see Billy Gunn wrestle. I don't even want to see Billy Gunn's kids wrestle, but they're at least young. And I do not want to see Sting wrestle Billy Gunn, but that I got all of the above here.
And I don't need to see Darby Allin just getting worked over by two people that wrestle on the internet.
I mean, sure, he's good taking offense, but that's like, I feel like it works for me. And how did he go from having like a match of the year contender with MJF to facing Billy Gunn?
Right.
Literally, like, he just went right to facing Billy Gunn.
Telling you, the reset after Full Gear is problematic at this point.
Yeah,
I'll talk about it later.
It's a little weird. I think Hangman's the only survivor. Hangman and Danielson are probably the
I just don't want it to be like the Hangman era is not that interesting. That's what I'm worried about, right? But anyways, we'll talk about it later. Yeah, we'll see.
This next we get Chris Jericho interview because not a week goes by where he's not on the show.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's to set up him not being... Anyways, go ahead. I don't think he's going to be there for a while.
I hope so.
That was the point of this.
Jericho says he didn't come to Kingston's Day, but he wanted to take out 2.0. I think something happened on
the internet?
Rampage.
Oh, on Rampage. Yeah, I missed it this week.
I don't watch Rampage a lot. We will this week, or where we did this week.
I usually check out some of it. Even if you're not around, I'll check out a bit.
Because this one is they had the 2 or 3 Falls match.
Right.
He keeps talking and gets ambushed by Garcia in 2.0. Garcia in 2.0 beat up Jericho more and says they told him to watch his mouth.
So my understanding is that he's on tour or something with Fozzy, and he wasn't actually even there this week, that this was taped last week, and that he's already gone.
Sweet.
So it's to explain, I think, Jericho's absence, it looks like.
But then that means he's going to be back to attack them.
I thought the beatdown was actually pretty good, and it makes 2.0 look a little more vicious and a little less like comedy mid-carders, right? Which is interesting. I thought the first bump Jericho took into the storage box looked really, really weak. Like he basically just kind of eased himself into it, but the rest of the beatdown was pretty good. And if it gets Jericho off TV, he needs to sort of... I have Jericho fatigue at this point as well, so I'm okay with 2.0 looking a little vicious and Jericho being gone for a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about that, but I agree 2.0 looked a little better. It was fine. It was super brief. I just really hope this isn't super prominent or long, because I really don't need another faction feud involving Chris Jericho or whatever this is shaping up to be. Jericho needs to wind it up in ring sooner or later, I think. Like, it's just... He doesn't have much to offer. I hate to say it, but he just doesn't have a lot to offer
I've just
anymore.
found his promos lazy lately,
His promos haven't been as good, because my defense of him was, even when like his in-ring was slipping a bit, when he was a heel, he was funny. He was like,
yes.
he had some good like zingers and whatnot.
Now
like
they're just
almost like MJF. Now he's just like
juvenile, immature, simple,
right,
low-hanging fruit.
It's just everything about him is kind of boring now. Like that was my one defense of him. That's kind of gone. So yeah, he's gonna be gone for a bit, but I like it's obviously gonna. This isn't just over.
I think he needs to transition into like a management position, like manager, heel manager, whatever. I don't know, but anyways, he'll be gone for a bit. It looks like.
Yep. Next we have Taz on commentary, and Taz says multiple members of Team Taz are in the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal, so they will 100% win it. Mm-hmm. Leo Rush's music hits, which I don't love compared to his WWE theme. I think his WWE theme was
I can't
perfect.
remember.
I remember because I remember, and then also because 2K.
I remember because I remember.
Yeah, and then also
it's also an eloquent turn of phrase right there.
It's also in 2K, so it's a pretty good one. Rush says Taz is a commentator and he should know Rush, and he has had the odds against him his entire career because he's short.
Oh, short jokes.
He didn't say that, but I decided to say that. He says he thinks it's crazy that Taz thinks he has a 100% chance to win the Battle Royal, because that implies he has 0 chance. He says he is a fighter and everyone knows that. He says he won't go down without a fight, even if with a 1% chance. And then Starks and Dante Martin walk out and stare down Leo Rush.
So Leo Rush has completed his face turn here, I guess, right?
This was the matter of 2 weeks.
So it's why I'm kind of finding this weird. He did get the crowd on his side briefly here. The Taz comment that Leo should just retire is funny because Leo has retired
twice. I want to say it's been twice.
I think it's like 4 times. Anyways, it's this idea that Leo keeps retiring and coming back, which is kind of funny. So I thought it was a good interaction to clearly establish the roles in this program, because this program seemed to kind of come out of nowhere for me and maybe even like skip a couple steps in development. So they're trying to like catch us up really quickly, it feels like. I like Leo Rush as a heel, but his in-ring style, right, is pretty hard to root against. He's got a very baby face style.
He works as a face. Because remember when he returned in 2019, he worked in the NXT Cruiserweight division, and that was baby face. So I think he can work either.
I just find this story is kind of weird, and they're just settling into the roles now, because I don't understand.
It is a little weird, I agree.
Don't understand why Dante Martin became the heel and Leo became the face, when the whole first part of this was like Leo was the heel, and
I really think it should have been reversed.
Dante was the reluctant, he's going along with the heel, but he's a
My
babyface.
fantasy booking here would be maybe like that they're using Dante and then maybe eventually Rush joins. I don't see how that would work, but I would like for somehow they turn on Dante except Rush, because I think Rush might fit the billing of that group pretty well, although he doesn't need Taz to speak from. To be fair, neither does Ricky Starks.
No.
And then Dante Martin faces, and then maybe that's when Darius returns. I don't know. I don't know if they'll do that or how they will do that, but I would like for them to do that.
Yeah, it feels like they kind of shifted plans here or something. I don't know. It feels like they missed some steps, but anyways, it's fine.
Yeah, the storyline's been a little shaky, but I kind of liked it because it was a solid short segment, but because I kind of liked it because it kind of fleshes out the field for that Battle Royale next week, because Battle Royals are always better when there's like a few storylines running through it, and I think this is a pretty small Battle Royal, but this is at least like it's something involved in that match. It also potentially gives Rush a line of opponents to go through in singles matches.
That's true.
Similar to Bryan Danielson, the Dark Order. In this case, I feel like the end match would be Martin versus Rush.
And selfishly, I was just really enjoying Rush and Martin as a tag team, and then that was just yanked away from us, right? With what, they got 1 match together? 2, and it was like, oh, this is cool.
I thought both of them were great, yeah.
Right, and then it's just gone. So I don't know. I question this, but I'll see where it goes.
We'll give them the benefit of the doubt, of course, because it's AEW, not WWE main roster.
True.
Next we get a promo from Jade Cargill and Mark Sterling backstage. Sterling congratulates Rosa on advancing, but asks if she thinks she has a shot against Cargill. He says they put out an open challenge for Rampage, and it was answered by Janai Kai,
who's a student of Thunder Rosa, apparently.
Random person. Rosa walks in and says she'll be on commentary for the match because JR is still gone, so that she's gonna commentate.
That's interesting.
And shouts in Spanish and walks off. What'd you think?
I thought it was okay. I thought Thunder Rosa at the end just like very animated, just rambling in Spanish, right? Made her kind of look a bit silly, I thought. And I don't know, Jade walking away to me is not consistent with what we know of her so far,
No, Rosa did.
No, Jade walked away.
What? No, I thought
Yeah, Rosa stood there and kept talking, and Jade just left.
Oh.
So that seemed a little inconsistent that she's walking away from somebody. But anyways, I'm not sure we needed this segment at all. So I don't know. It just felt like it was kind of there, I guess.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I don't mind a bit of a build from the tournament match, but this was just kind of there. And I don't know. I have no idea who Rosa's student is because I have never heard of her.
No, me either.
This is not. Although, I guess that's going to make me want to tune into Rampage for sure. Not the other title matches.
That's right.
This is going to make me tune into Rampage.
And speaking of builds to tournament matches, right?
Oh, yes. The tournament match that somehow managed to get 3 consecutive segments.
Right. 3 separate weeks, right?
Yep. 3 consecutive weekly segments.
So it better be a barn burner.
And Chris Statlander versus Ruby Soho, TBS Championship tournament quarterfinals is the last match in the quarterfinals. Winner of this match faces Nyla Rose, and the other match is obviously Cargill versus Thunder Rosa.
Yep.
So this will round out the semifinals in an entertaining and competitive TV match.
Mm-hmm.
We always start with some holds and counters, which tends to be the narrative.
But there were quite a few here.
Yep. A handstand by Statlander out of a monkey flip from Soho. Cool. Diving senton by Soho for 2. Statlander counters a wheelbarrow bulldog from Soho and a blue thunder bomb for 2, which I thought that was really nice. And then another nice sequence was Statlander tries to lock in that spider crab, which is a Boston crab, but then she's also holding the arms.
Yeah, picking them up off the ground. I think
it's a really cool submission.
It is.
And so Soho is trying to fight that, and Statlander turns that into a deadlift up into a buckle bomb, and then a spinning fisherman driver for 2, which I thought that was a really nice sequence. Cool. Poison Rana, and then a basement spike hurricane Rana by Soho for 2, another nice little sequence.
Thought so too.
Eventually, the finish comes in Soho, gets a victory roll, countering Statlander's Big Bang Theory move for the win, and then a brief post-match attack from Nyla Rose until
just
Statlander
to soften up her
off.
Opponent, right?
That is the lingo.
So I thought this started out really slowly with a lot of holds and counters and a couple of spots that were a little bit not totally clean for sure. Things picked up when Statlander started hitting her. She's got some unique power offense, right, in this division for a few near falls. And then I thought Ruby's flurries there that you sort of outlined were really good too. The finish, I guess, leaves the door open for a rematch at some point, and I think that would be fine. So Statlander, man, I'm torn because I really like her offense, but I think she needs a lot of polish in other areas like selling and timing and just sort of
the gimmick.
She looks like she's standing and waiting for things to happen sometimes, and she doesn't really know what to do in those moments.
She's definitely incomplete.
And her offense is really cool though, because she's just a strong woman who can do some things that other women can't, right? She can toss the other women in this division around.
She can do that pendulum moonsault too.
And so I think her offense is cool. It's just all of the other sort of like things that wrestling nerds like us notice, right? Still need a little bit of polish, but I thought this ended up being a solid tournament match. There were some issues early on, I thought.
And I wouldn't be necessarily disappointed if she ditched the whole alien shtick.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't lean into it too seriously anymore as much as she used to. I don't think it lived up to the hype of 3 weeks of segments leading up to it, but I thought it was a pretty fine match by the end of it.
I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was pretty good. I thought both of these two are pretty good in the ring. I mean, Statlander's not quite rounded out yet, but I thought they both did good here. There were some really nice sequences and some cool spots. I think the finish was pretty well done as well, like a good roll finish, so to speak. The aftermath was quick, but worked to add a little heat to that semifinals match.
Yeah, it's just a reminder of who they face next and that she's a vicious heel, right? So I was okay with that too.
And I've definitely been condensing my notes because it feels like this has gone fast as we arrive at our main event already.
Yeah, you have. I like the amount of coverage of the moves and stuff. I think is on point. Right. I was going to tell you that off mic, but I'll say it now.
Andrade El Idolo versus Cody Rhodes in an Atlanta street fight.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff in this one, that's for sure.
Yeah, the one time I called it a street fight, and I forgot to mention that it was in Atlanta, because that makes all the difference, right?
And a street fight where one guy wrestles in a shirt and tie, which is interesting.
Which, I mean, that's fair to be street attire, because what if he's wrestling after work?
I guess
right?
So. Gets in a fight
after a business meeting.
On his way home from the office.
Right, after like a board meeting or something, Cody comes in his big flashy ring gear. And Cody's back looks super weird. What is that, you ask? It's flame retardant.
Yeah.
Why would you need that? Good question.
It's because it's like, it's like a sunburn that's peeling off. That's what it looked like.
But then it was like
really,
peeling
really
too
bad.
much. It looked so weird.
It was honestly distracting for a bit.
It was.
Because it's hard to focus on anything else. At the time,
when
we
his
didn't
back
know.
just looked so weird.
And when we didn't know what it was, right? And we're just trying to think about what could that be. Like,
I mean,
why
I
would
had seen the final spot already, but like even then, I didn't know what that was. So I was so confused.
Yep.
And I love the second Cody's music hits, he gets booed. I love that now. It's just it amuses me. It makes me happy.
He is the Cena now, right? Because he's getting the dueling chance as the match is
but
happening.
I love the thing that you came up with where like it's like almost a reverse heel kind of thing, and I think that works perfectly. And if that's what they're doing, they are incredibly smart.
It's very, very meta. Him trying so hard to be a baby
even
face.
If people don't even notice that's even better.
It's actually him being a heel.
Right, he's being a heel by not being heel, so it's like a reverse heel kind of thing, right? I think that'd be great.
Deep stuff.
And I thought it was another solid no DQ style match from AEW. Do you have a few more notables, obviously, because it was quite an action-packed match.
There's tons of stuff going on.
And so as Cody is making his entrance down, Andrade, who already has entrance, runs up the ramp to attack him. We get your average crowd brawl with Cody's back, just looking so weird.
Yeah, really, that's the point.
That was when I noticed it, and I was just like, what is that?
Yeah, I was very distracted.
It was like too flaky to be a sunburn, but that was like our best theory, and then it was just like, I think you looked it up, right?
Yeah,
like
I was reading something, and it said that they were distracted by the retardant, and I was like, there you go.
It looks so weird.
It did.
Andrade drops Cody face first on the upside down ring stuff.
Looked good.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, he took it really well.
I'm surprised he didn't try to extract his eye.
And it was right on the corner, so it looked good. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, right? Like that's where you're getting into cartoon just silliness that AEW won't engage in, and I appreciate it.
That feud, man. That feud. T-Pain, he's guy.
Yep, he is a guy.
A rapper guy, I think.
I think that is correct.
Probably.
Yep.
Who is in the front row, hands Cody a steel chair, which he uses to beat on Andrade. There's the one part where Cody's like about to take his weight belt off, and then Andrade attacks him. I was like, go on, buddy, throw it in the crowd.
The new trend is going to be to have it thrown back, I think, yeah.
Part of me would want to keep it because I'm like, cool souvenir, but then the other part of me is like, ew, it's Cody. Andrade whips Cody with said weight belt and hits Cody with Jose's laptop, which he had in like a sack. Or a bag with pockets. Pretty good. Yes. There's this really cool move where Andrade puts a chair on top of Cody, right? And so he's standing on the top of it, he just drops and then hits this really like snaps, but like a moonsault. It was awesome. Cause like he's just like standing on the ropes, good. And then he just drops down. I was like, oh my god! And then he ended up doing a moonsault. I was just like, that was awesome.
It was cool.
And so that got a nice 2 count. Chain assisted punch by Cody. Andrade counters suicide dive by throwing a chair at Cody. Jose runs out with a taser but hits him with a shovel. He buried him.
The gold shovel.
Running corner double knees to a seated Cody who had a chair in front of his face by Andrade for 2. That was pretty nice.
Yeah.
The sound really helps.
Andrade gets going so fast, and the impact.
The sound
awesome.
That's part of what does it for me.
Yep.
Andrade leaves Cody on a table in the ring. Cody attacks Andrade on the top rope. They battle. And to make things better, just kidding, Brandy Rose appears for some reason because things were going horribly without her, right?
Yeah, we missed her. The crowd just missed her so much.
Yep, and they love both of them.
And
she lights the table on fire. Why, you may ask? For Cody to take a giant back bump from it. Just kidding. It was an inverted superplex through the flaming table for the win. Look, Cody does take like almost all of the bump.
98% of it was
and
Cody.
And then he's like when he's pinning Andrade at first, his arm is still on fire.
And so Andrade didn't really take any of that, but he's the one that gets
his face
pinned.
took it, but it wasn't even a very good pin either.
No. So to me, like this type of match, I reserve these matches for people who either aren't amazing wrestlers, right? Because you can sort of hide that fact when they're hitting each other with stuff, or as part of some lengthy, bitter feud where it necessitates this kind of match, which I'm not sure I feel that's the case yet.
Well, Cody did get his win back, so that's the important thing.
So I would rather watch these two in a regular match or a 2 out of 3 falls or something where they actually get to work because they're pretty awesome. So there were a few cool spots in this for sure that looked pretty cool, but I was also bored for stretches of it because plunder matches or whatever you want to call them are not generally my favorite. These guys worked hard for sure. Like there's no doubt about that.
I'm not sure if like you said, I don't think the flaming table. I think that's a little much.
It was a bit much for me too.
And it's not even like this was like the most extreme match ever.
Well, and I think like Brandy's inclusion felt like this was an ego display, because I think they think that this is some big deal that she comes out. Nobody really cared, right? They were hoping for some ridiculous reaction, and there was kind of a mild one.
Brandy Rhodes.
I'm not going to say there was no reaction, but it's like them going, oh, because they just, this is just me saying this. I don't know, obviously, but it's like their ego. They think that they are more popular than they actually are, and that, oh, this is going to be a big return. She's going to come out in a hoodie, and
I feel like they should have enough self-awareness to know that no one would care, considering Cody's recent responses from the crowd.
The table spot felt completely unnecessary. Andrade took almost none of it, but still got pinned, which I don't like.
Yeah.
So some fun parts to this, a decent main event, but I'm not a big fan of this, to be honest. If it was like I'm grading this match, it's like, I don't know, B- kind of match. Like, I didn't love it.
I think that's fair. I think it could fit in the B range, but either of those work.
Yeah,
that's fair. I thought it was pretty good. It didn't start out the best with the crowd brawling, and the ending was fine. But once it got going, I thought it was pretty good. I think there were some great spots. I think
there were a few really good spots.
I guess the finish could be counted as one. Andrade definitely hit some great offense. That moonsault, I don't know, that was really cool.
And the chair into the face in the corner, even the chair thrown into him on the moonsault.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that he went for like the moonsault the one time, and Cody like
threw a chair
at him, right? And he landed on his feet. And I was confused, but then they replayed it, and I was like, oh, that was cool.
It was cool.
But overall, it was a pretty good match to end the show. What did you think of the show itself?
And I guess this is me proving I'm not an AEW mark, because I was not a huge fan of this show, and that's 2 weeks in a row for me where Dynamite has been subpar, in my opinion. Like I've been saying, some of the directions they're going post Full Gear are just not really appealing to me, right? So you've got Sting, Darby Allin, Gun Club, don't care. Best Friends, Super Click, don't care. Britt and Riho right now, don't care. I found the first hour to be especially lackluster, with nothing that I really found super entertaining, right? There were no standout matches to me on this show, and I don't know when the last time I could say that about Dynamite, right? There was nothing that I was like for the spectacle of it, the main event, sure, but like I don't think it was a great match. So nothing, this wasn't a bad show necessarily, but I don't think there was anything amazing that stood out to me either. So I'm giving it a B- this week, which is really low for an episode of Dynamite, and I feel like they were just firing on all cylinders leading into Full Gear, and now they're kind of struggling to find their way a little bit after that. There's no super hot storylines for me at this point, aside from maybe like Danielson and Paige, right?
I think that's
about it for me right now. So yeah, I was disappointed in the show. Still, it's not a bad episode of wrestling when you compare what else you could be watching on network television for wrestling, but definitely a couple rungs below where Dynamite usually is.
I was just thinking they definitely need another mid-card title for the men, I think, because like the TNT title's great and all, but I feel like it's really
no
absent.
More titles other than a trios. That's
the TNT title is just really absent. It's not on pay-per-view a lot. Like I feel like it's pretty.
For a while, it was the one that was defended on Dynamite all the time, right? But that seems to have slowed down a bit.
I would like,
because that was when it was Cody, and we all want to see Cody all the time.
To be fair, Darby Allin kept it up pretty well.
Yep.
And I don't know. I would like, and I feel like I would like an Intercontinental title. They might be a little too similar, but especially once they move to TBS on Dynamite, they'll have to move the TNT title over. Or out of there, or rename it, which I think that would also be smart. Because the television title can't be defended on pay-per-view, so I feel like if they add one more mid-card title, I think then there's not much harm, because they do have quite a big roster.
Yes.
So I think they can sustain it, and then there's also that adds another title match to pay-per-view. Like, I think they do a great job and whatever, but I would like some more championships, and Trios title is necessary.
Yes. So I thought this was like a good-ish show, but nowhere near a normal episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, I thought it was another good show. There were 3 matches that I kind of liked. I thought the opener was pretty good. I enjoyed Stylanders versus Soho quite a bit for some reason.
Probably my
match of
the night, but that's not a.
I don't know. It was too. I quite liked it for some reason. And I thought the main event was pretty good. I think Andrade carried most of it. Once again, we had the one in-ring misstep. I think was being the Gun Club match, because Gun Club sucks. I feel like Punk vs. Moriarty was fine. A bit of a misstep, but nothing like horribly bad.
Right.
And I think it was helped because it got followed by that the MJF promo, which is never bad. No segments particularly stood out to me, but some of the good ones were probably the Rush Team Taz segment. I thought that one was actually solid.
Me too.
The Tony Nese promo was pretty good. Baker promo was like average for her, which is good. Like she's never really bad.
No.
I thought the Miro one was nice because that one was pretty similar of his, but also it was a little different, so I liked it. And I would say it was kind of around your average AEW Dynamite. I thought there were 3 good matches that I liked and a few segments of note aside from the post-match Punk MJF segment. So I would say I would put it around a B.
Nice. You liked it a bit more than I did, for sure. All right, so that's going to bring us into doing a little bit of the trivia in our next segment that we like to call Off the Top of His Head. So we're going with 15 questions, a bit brief this week. Well, sometimes it's like 15 to 25, depends what I can find or make. So we're going with 90s wrestling trivia. I believe it's all WWE. So I have options should you require them, but for some of these, I don't think you will. Ready? Number 1. Who won the 1997 King of the Ring?
Triple H.
Correct. Ooh. The most in any decade in WWE history, so this is just 90s, the WWE Championship belt was vacated how many times in the 90s? Do you know of any? Think out loud. Do you know anyone that vacated? I don't. I can't, and I lived it, so I don't know.
I think it was vacated and then in 91 because of shenanigans. And remember, Flair won in the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
So that's 1. I know Shawn Michaels lost his smile.
He
so
did
that's
lose
2.
his smile. That's true.
Let me think. It was vacated in 98 because remember there was the tournament that Rock won. I don't know why.
3.
I don't remember why, but it was. I think Vince McMahon won it in like 99 or I think it was 99 or 2000. No, it was 99.
So
I think
that's 4.
So and then he vacated after he won it, so that's 4. I'll go with 4.
4 is correct.
Yep.
The options were 2, 3, 4, or 6. Very good. At which pay-per-view did Macho Man marry Miss Elizabeth?
SummerSlam 91.
Correct. My goodness. You know a lot of stuff from before you were born. Who won the reinstated Women's Championship in the 90s? I have options if you'd wish.
Yeah, because that could apply to multiple times.
Jacqueline, Ivory, Sable,
Jacqueline.
Moolah. Correct.
Okay, because it could have referred to like mid-90s, which
This
would have
had
been
Jacqueline
Blaze.
Moore. I'm like, really? Last name? This is an easy one, I think. What was the name of the British Bulldog's bulldog?
Matilda.
I feel like that's been in our trivia many times at this point.
That's such a weird, like, that's just...
Here's a tough one. Well, I think it's tough. I shouldn't say tough for you. Against whom did Jeff Hardy debut?
Razor Ramon.
Why do you know that?
That's a good question.
I wonder how many times someone could do a highlight reel of me just going, why do you know that? What was the main event of WrestleMania 6?
Ultimate Showdown.
Which is?
Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior.
Correct.
WWE Championship and Intercontinental Championship.
Correct.
Winner take all. Title, whatever thing.
Yep. Out of the 10 WrestleManias of the 90s, how many main event wins does Hulk Hogan have? 10 in the 90s. How many times did he win the main event? You can think out loud. What's one for sure?
91, 92, 93, kinda.
Okay.
3.
3 is correct. My goodness, that's ridiculous. WrestleMania 9 was the first Mania to take place outside. What was the name of the arena? That's hard.
Oh, was it like Caesar's Palace?
It was Caesar's
WrestleMania
Palace.
9.
Goodness gracious. Who was the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in the 90s? Options available if you'd like.
Sure.
Rock, Michaels, Razor Ramon, Mr. Perfect.
Well, I feel like it was Razor.
It is not Razor. It's Mr. Perfect.
Oh, I was thinking Shawn Michaels, and then I was like, maybe Razor.
I just watched a video of him selling for somebody in the 90s. It was amazing. Who won the 60-minute Iron Man during WrestleMania 12?
Shawn Michaels.
Correct.
I have his figure from that match.
And he beat who?
Brett.
Correct.
Hitman Hart. If you put S in front of Hitman, you have my opinion, Bret Hart.
Two of the only people I would ever want to see in a 60-minute match, to be honest. There's not a lot of people I'd want to watch wrestle for an hour.
There was him, there was Rock and Triple H.
There's a few others
there
I'd
was
watch.
Brock and Angle, then there was Cena and Orton.
Angle would be one. Who jumped from WWF to WCW first? Ready? Out of this group. Scott Hall, X-Pac, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart.
Scott Hall.
No.
What?
Who was in WCW first?
Wait, sorry. Oh, Hogan.
Yes, Hogan was already there, right? When he wasn't heel at that point, but who broke Goldberg's streak? Ugh.
Oh, large Kevin Nash.
Yeah, I think because he was booking at that point.
And Scott Hall poked Goldberg with a cattle prod.
Oh, right, it was the cattle prod. Yes, amazing. Penultimate question. Where were the Bushwhackers from? If you would like options, they are available to you.
Is parts unknown an option?
It is not.
Okay, then give me the options.
California, Alaska, Montreal, New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Correct. I knew it was Australia or New Zealand, and I apologize for confusing those two things because I'm sure people from those countries hate that. But
where is New Zealand?
Right near Australia. That's just why I get confused by it sometimes.
Oh, that's where my boy Jay White's from.
And the accents are similar-ish.
Mate.
Right. Last question. When Scott Hall and Kevin Nash initially invaded WCW...
What? That never happened.
What did Eric Bischoff announce them as?
The Outsiders?
Yeah. How easy was that one, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess you crushed...
Wait, aren't you going to say, how did I know that?
No. Because that one everybody knows. But one of the other options was Dangerous Jobbers. Yeah, probably.
Exactly. Look at these dangerous jobbers.
Look at these dangerous jobbers. Isn't that an oxymoron, too?
I guess so, yeah.
Right? Anyways, that's going to bring us to the end of the trivia section, which you destroyed this week. Good job. And back to talking about some professional wrestling. It's weird to say, but it's going to take us now to talking about Impact Wrestling. All right, so I'm looking forward to talking about Impact, where you've actually watched the entire thing, I think, for the first time, right? So I was going to ask you how you felt about it, but I guess we should wait until the end where you can give your overall thoughts.
Even just like from what I keep tabs on or what I hear from you, I miss like 2018 Impact when we went there. I feel like they had a great roster at the time.
I was talking about it at lunch again with Marco Sr. today, and saying that, we were there at a really good time where the roster was...
what they had...
Lucha Brothers.
Santana Ortiz. Yep. They had Cage Eddie and even Sydal.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. He was a manager, but still, he was there.
Cutting promos.
I remember Callahan and, Eddie Edwards was doing the Psycho thing, which I thought that was actually kind of interesting because it had that realism to it, right? With
that was in the midst of the Callahan Edwards blood feud.
That was after that, yeah. Or then there was the Penta, even Callahan doing the OVE thing. I always thought that was pretty good.
No, the roster was awesome. Though.
Right, and they had I think Johnny Impact was just...
He was there.
No, he was there.
We got pictures with him.
Right, and they had Aries. Aries was on his way out around there because I remember he was affiliated with Karrion Kross and Moose. I remember that was when Moose turned heel.
Kross and the Smoke Show were there.
Oh yes, Scarlett Bordeaux. Yep. And Follow Box. I remember seeing that live. And then we were part of Moose's heel turn.
Yep. Moose ripped your brother's sign.
That was fun. Yeah. So I think I don't know. That was a good time.
It was
maybe just because we were also there.
And it was maybe because there was no AEW, right? So a lot of those talent don't have elsewhere to go, so they end up pooling kind of in Impact.
I remember Lucha Bros were in AEW almost immediately. I remember then it took until All Out, which is the third pay-per-view for AEW, and the fourth event because there was Fyter Fest. Remember that one was that one was free. It took for the first few events for Santana Ortiz to go there.
That was a fun time of us going to Impact. Good value for our money, especially once we befriended Ashley and she started basically giving us the VIP treatment.
We were free. VIP the first time though, I think, right?
We didn't pay for it ever.
Really?
She just did it for us.
Because the first time it was because of
they messed up a lot of stuff.
Confusion.
And they were just and then after that she was just hey, you're a nice family. I'll just hook you up because she got us backstage.
I also remember that was when they were blue instead of red.
She got us in the VIP. Remember she even because you guys were young, especially your brother. So all of the VIP people who had paid, and it's not cheap, we walked right by them because she was like, "Nope, you've got a family and you guys need to get home."
Oh, right, and we saw Tessa was there because we saw her.
Tessa and Brian
we saw
Cage.
her win the Knockouts title and Su Yung. Yeah, because Cage had the X Division title, I remember, and then she had the Knockouts title.
So we got pictures, and we literally walked by all the people waiting.
There's that guy who was there with the red hat.
Yeah, red hat guy was there. He's there for every show in Canada,
always
basically.
There, yeah.
So anyways, let's talk about this week's Impact instead of Impact from 3 years ago or whatever it was. So this show starts with highlights of sort of recent shows as well as Turning Point, where they put a little bit of focus on Jonah debuting for Impact there. Not in ring, but just sort of making an appearance finally. So it opens up with Matt Cardona heading to the ring in street clothes to speak. He recaps his loss at Turning Point, where it was basically he hit his finisher, but the ref was out and couldn't make the count. Then Moose interfered and speared him, so he ended up losing the match. He calls out Moose. Moose comes out in a dark suit carrying the belt, looking like a star that
with
I think
his cool boy entrance. He's like probably the only guy who really like the only time they ever look big time is when the lights are on. It's just a spotlight on Moose, because then it's just like it's pitch black, right? So then you can just make it look, and then the lights turn on, and he's in this
and you're like, oh, there's 100 people there,
right? And like even the place to go back to when we were there, even the Rebel nightclub looked better than the spot
awesome
there
on
now.
Camera.
They just look so like that place looks small too, but like I feel like
tiny.
It just looked nicer.
It looked really nice.
Their spot there now, they look so minor league, and they're probably one of the bigger American wrestling promotions, right? So they just look so small time.
Yep. So he calls out Moose. Moose comes down. Moose talks about Cardona, kind of putting him over a little bit, talking about him being a veteran and all kinds of digital media
NXT,
presence.
That's a bad thing.
With all kinds of digital media presence. He has a podcast and then a room full of action figures, he says.
Not the digital media champion, though.
But then he goes on to say that Cardona has never been the guy, and he basically implying that he can't hang with Moose. He asks Cardona a couple times if he's really sure he wants to face Moose, and then he calls him mid-Cardona, which I thought was pretty awesome.
That was a really good line, yes.
Cardona dares him to say it again. Moose does start to say it again. Cardona slaps the mic out of his hand and then basically attacks him. Morrissey eventually comes down to help Moose. Eddie Edwards comes down to save Cardona, and I wonder what that could possibly lead to, right?
Fatal 4-way.
Where's
for
Teddy
the title.
Long when you need him? What did you think of the opening segment?
I thought it was fine. I thought Cardona's promo was fine until Moose interrupted, and the Moose was far better. I thought.
I agree.
I think he has a bit of a lip switch.
He does.
Which I never like. It's never their fault, but it always
can be distracting. But he's really slow and deliberate, I think, to minimize it as much as he can.
Moose was far better, and Cardona looked pretty stupid the whole time. The brawl and stuff was fine too, and it ended predictably. I like how Morrissey always helps Moose to ensure a title shot against him, because I feel like that's like kind of
that is the storyline.
It's a cool, different take on the kind of Moose's crony.
It's like Moose has promised him a title shot, but it seems like he's kind of stringing him along, right?
Almost
and it's kind of
like
is he gonna do it or is he not?
Like Cole and Fish a little right now.
Yeah.
And I like, cause it's like they're kind of in like they're not really affiliate, like they're affiliated, but they're not like a team really. Yeah, so I think it's kind of a different version of they're
kind of because
Morrissey's kind of Moose's goon in this situation.
Morrissey's whole thing is I'm not affiliated with anyone, because after you know what I mean? After he got released and had problems, everyone abandoned him, so screw everybody.
Yeah, they abandoned him, my boy.
So it's just sort of a business arrangement. I thought Moose was excellent here, but Cardona's like his mugging and facial expressions.
That was one of the things you pointed that out. And I was like, it's not good.
He's trying to look angry, and he just looks ridiculous.
Or like he'll be like doing that baby face, and he's like he's shaking his head, like going like nah or something like that.
So to me, it was like you have this legit killer champion is tearing down like kind of like a cartoon character standing across from him, because
his theme sucks.
He seems to regress to Zack Ryder here, and I think
is.
in GCW he's not, right? So I don't know why he has to
like flipping people off and whatnot.
I still like the segment overall, mostly despite Cardona, although I think you're right. Before he started doing the facial expressions, his promo was actually fine. It was just him trying to show anger was awful, I thought.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I know you complain about, like, for example, Eddie Edwards' theme a lot, but...
I do.
I've heard it a few times on the show, and the more I notice that Cardona's theme sucks, but...
It's not good either.
So
Moose's
bad.
is cool.
Mooses is great. It's probably the only theme in Impact that I actually like.
It's good.
Enjoy, and like if I could find it, I would put that on my wrestling
Well, and now
theme
Taylor
playlist.
Wilde's gone because hers was awful.
Right, they have some about. I mean, obviously they don't have the same, but like I think like a lot of them are just like not good, but then there are some like bad ones, and then there's
Good Brothers,
good
awful. One. Eddie Edwards, awful.
I even think like, and then there's like some bad ones which I don't think are great. Like I don't love Swans or the
there
Inspiration.
Was no Good Brothers this week. I just realized that.
There was the UFC guy in the Good Brothers hat.
This bumps it up to an A+ this week. No, just kidding. It does not. We then get a Violent by Design promo.
Addition by subtraction, you could say.
Right. They're still mad at Rhino. And tonight they're going to beat Willie Mack and Rich Swann on their way to tag team titles that will give them the power and control that they need. Rhino will be the base of the Monument of Violence, and this is a warning to the Impact roster that there will be violence. What did you think? Because I've been saying these segments are kind of cool, but they never back anything up.
In a sport, let's call it, where you have to wrestle other people, I kind of think there'd have to be some violence.
Yeah, I guess so. But they're going beyond normal violence. Okay. I think.
So like stabbing people,
maybe could be. That might be going too far, but
burning,
you never know. They hit them with flags and stuff all the time.
That is a little different.
Break flag pulls over their head.
I mean, I've seen it before, so I guess it's a little different.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. Didn't do much for me. I can't say I'm interested in them versus Heath and Rhino. And like I remember you were saying like AEW kind of takes some WWE things, makes them better, like Black and Tony Nese.
Right.
Even like Bobby Fish, definitely, or like Bryan Danielson, Miro and Bryan Danielson, or I mean like even just taking like similar gimmicks and making them better, and then Impact, like for like example, Heath and Rhino takes WWE gimmicks and does them again.
Yeah, well, hey, they were popular kind of over there, so let's just do that.
Yes, they were in what was it? Let me see when I started. 2016. That is when they formed. That is when they're at the height of their popularity, and that was 5 years ago.
I thought EY sounded great, like he usually does. I
always think his voice is so interesting. This
whole building a monument of violence is kind of cool, I think. And again, this is my notes in the moment, not knowing.
It was shock cool.
Not knowing what happens later in the show. I thought they're now setting out a clear goal, right? Because my thing is always they cut these cool promos, they talk about being so violent and dominant, and then they never win.
Although I think the Monument of Violence line is pretty vague.
So now I think this was giving them a clear goal. Okay, we're going to start working our way through some lower card tag teams like Mack and Swann. We're going after the tag team titles because that's going to give us the power we need to do whatever we want to do. So I thought at least it's creating a goal for them. And I thought it would allow them to pick up some much needed wins along the way starting tonight. But I guess we'll find that out later.
That's funny.
Right? And again, I'm not revising my notes. I'm going with what I thought in the moment.
Yeah, no,
right?
I do that too.
So Matt Cardona then runs into Scott D'Amore backstage, and D'Amore, of course,
makes interaction we never knew we needed.
And he makes the inevitable tag team match for the main event tonight. And so if Cardona and Edwards win tonight against Moose and Morrissey, it was implied, but he didn't actually say it, that Cardona would get a title shot, right? Like it was kind of...
I guess like maybe if you... Right, I don't know.
It was sort of implied, but they didn't outright say it, so
or
I don't know.
He builds momentum towards a title shot.
That is the most important thing. What did you think? I mean, this was pretty short, but it
was fine. Cardona sounded nah, and D'Amore was also not great. And I had no idea they would set up this match, so I'm pretty excited because I this came out of the blue.
I was slightly confused. Like, obviously, they were going to make that tag match in the main event.
It was surprising.
I was a bit confused here because D'Amore was almost doing his smug dealing with the heel persona, and Cardona's not a heel, so that's usually the way he talks to like the heel teams, right? Like he's sort of impatient and smug and sarcastic with them.
Yeah, no, D'Amore just seemed weird.
I was a little bit confused. We then get Rachel Ellering and Jordan Grace. They approach Scott D'Amore next about getting into the Women's Ultimate X match, which is an interesting thing that they're coming up with. It's kind of strange because the Ultimate X is literally because it's the X division, but I mean, it could be a fun match. I guess we'll see. We don't know who's in it yet, but that's part of the storyline here.
I didn't even think about that, but I guess that doesn't really work
because that was the whole point. It's an X division match.
Right, and like it was either like a X division title, X division number one contenders, like related to the X division. Right? I mean, I guess like I don't know. It is kind of weird. Yeah,
it is. So, anyways, Savannah Evans and Tasha Steelz show up. They want in the match too. Obviously, there's a little bit of tension between these two teams. So Scott D'Amore books another match, and it'll be a rematch, actually, of Rachel Ellering taking on Savannah Evans later on tonight.
The match I never knew I needed.
So I thought this was a fine interaction, nothing special. I'm not thrilled with the rematch because I don't think Savannah Evans has been great, but whatever. Any thoughts on this a little bit?
I thought it was fine. At the time, I did not know what the stakes were for the Ultimate X, but I guess it'll be interesting. I don't get Savannah Evans' nickname because she's
the cannibal,
I guess. And they are definitely not Fire and Flava.
No, they're
Fire
not.
and Flava.
Then we get some recap of an internet interaction last week between Matthew Raywalt.
You mean an interaction on digital media?
Whatever it was. Raywalt and Sabin, where Raywalt talks about how much he loves Sabin's shirt that says I am Sabin, because basically he took the shirt from Ace Austin that said I beat Chris Sabin and taped over the I beat and changed it to am. So I guess this is the idea that it's like a work of art or something, because that's Raywalt's focus, right? Is he's an artist.
Though it's not.
So then Raywalt basically challenges Sabin to a match, I think, to like observe his art or something about getting close to his artistry in the ring.
Some weird artist lingo.
Yeah, and Sabin agrees to the match. So we do get that match next. And so it is Matthew Raywalt versus Chris Sabin, and I put fresh off of teleporting from Wrestle House, ?
Which
right?
was a running theme.
It really was, because this idea is...
No, and a lot of the times they just say, we're back from Wrestle House.
And they're supposed to be trapped there, right? Because I watched a bit more of Wrestle House, and it's this idea that they're trapped there. They did mention...
Like a reality show for like a while.
They did mention that Sabin would be leaving for his match. I did watch enough to get that far, and then I just couldn't watch any more of it. I couldn't do it. So Deonna Purrazzo joins commentary for this, and we get some fast-paced technical stuff to start out. Top rope crossbody a bit later by Sabin, a swinging neckbreaker by Raywalt, and then he a little later hits his signature like dramatic swinging elbow drop thing that he does, and he controls the middle part of this match for quite a while. We get a jawbreaker by Sabin, a stunner over top of the ropes, and that sends Raywalt to the floor and shifts the momentum. We get a running boot in the corner and a jumping DDT by Sabin. Deonna leaves commentary briefly, gets up on the apron to distract Sabin, and Raywalt hits a running knee and a fireman's carry powerbomb that looked pretty cool for a near fall. Mickie James comes out. She attacks Deonna to sort of even the odds here and sends her into the ring steps to take her out. Back in the ring, Sabin hits a jumping kick and his cradle shock for the win.
I did not know what the cradle shock was, but it was lame.
People love it, but it's not that impressive.
I like it. It's essentially, I think it's like a phantom driver, but Escobar does it better.
And then he immediately hooks the leg, which I think is cool. But anyways, what did you think of the match outside of the finish?
I thought it was fine. There wasn't really anything interesting other than Raywalt's finisher. And then the finish wasn't great, and I think Sabin should have lost.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that too. If Sabin's tangled up in Wrestle House, I don't think he needs to keep looking strong. But anyways, I thought it was a good television match for Impact. I've actually been kind of impressed with Raywalt in his last couple matches. He has some cooler looking offense than I thought he did. It'd be nice if he could win at some point. I agree, like with what you're saying. And Deonna, honestly...
Yeah, I just think he's probably more interesting than Sabin.
Deonna on commentary at the beginning of this was really distracting because they were basically interviewing her, right? And she was super interesting and giving really cool responses and talking about the shift in her character. She's kind of going back to basics, and she's not even dressing up. Like, she was kind of like a very much a diva before, not like a WWE diva, but like she was always dressed really fancy, expensive clothes and sunglasses and whatnot. So now she's saying that basically a loss is forcing her to like reevaluate and go back to basics. So I thought she was super interesting, but it was almost distracting me from the match because I was kind of more interested in listening to what she had to say at that point, because she is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So Scott D'Amore is backstage telling Chelsea Green that he will announce the competitors for the Ultimate X match next week. Alicia shows up just because she has to. I don't, honestly, man. Does Eddie Edwards own stock in the company? Is he part owner? Because she gets
I don't know.
so much time, and I try not to be mean. She's really, really bad at everything involved in professional wrestling. She can't act, she can't talk, she can't wrestle. But anyways, she shows up. I should get off of her back a little bit. I mean, whatever. I'm sure she's a lovely woman. She wants to know how to get into the X Division match, or the Ultimate X match, sorry. And D'Amore tells her that he will announce it next week. Jay Vidal shows up. He's a local talent that has jobbed once in Impact. So he shows up. He wants a match, and he also wants to be on Hard to Kill. D'Amore tells him that he only has one match available and that Vidal does not want it. But Vidal insists that he does, so he will face Jonah next. I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on this?
The whole first ever Knockouts Ultimate X stick, and then, now it's the competitors next week. It's getting old. Like, he's already said it like 2 or 3 times. Like,
and they just forced him to repeat it here by having Alicia ask right after he told Chelsea Green. I guess they're trying to drive that point home.
Chelsea Green was fine, and Alicia sucked. The Jay Vidal stuff was fine, I guess.
I think he has a little bit of charisma, right? He's an interesting guy for them.
An interesting little fellow.
To squash. So we do get Jay
Perhaps
Vidal
literally.
versus Jonah, and man, the size difference is pretty impressive, right? I actually made a note that for an Impact theme, I thought Jonah's was pretty cool.
I thought it was alright, yeah, actually.
And he's being presented much more serious than he was in NXT, and I think that can only help him, right? Because as you pointed out, he was always I'm the big babyface big man, and I've been.
I think they did fine with it, but like it was different, yeah.
Because he was the 14 years to get here, and I'm finally getting to the top. But now he's like,
right. That was the whole thing. I remember when he won the North American title.
Yes. So now he's more of a serious heel, which I think is kind of interesting. So obviously he dominates this match, hits a jumping senton and a top rope splash with a really cool camera angle, sort of from above, and it's over. He then takes the microphone and speaks. Says that the wrestling world is talking about him. He takes over wherever he goes. He wants Moose. He deserves to be the champion, but he also wants to talk about Josh Alexander first. He keeps hearing that Josh is the best in the world, but Alexander has to go through him to prove it. What did you think?
I thought it was pretty good because I thought his presentation was so different from WWE, but I think it's still good. He got in his usual offense and looked pretty great because he looked like he killed Jay Vidal.
Yeah.
The post-match promo was pretty good, especially when you consider he was never that great at promos in WWE.
No, it was solid though, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was an absolute squash. I thought his running senton and the splash looked really, really good. Like they both look like just maximum impact, right? And some pretty cool camera angles actually. They replayed the top rope splash I think 3 times. And it looked really good from all angles. So I think that means it's a successful match, right? It got his finishing combination or whatever, his signature moves over, and he won. I thought the promo was fine. He stated his intentions, right? And then provided a simple reason for attacking Alexander. The tough thing for me is, like, who loses there? I really don't think Alexander or obviously Jonah should be losing at this point. So I'm super nervous. Remember when I was fine with Alexander having the belt for 10 seconds and then losing it to Moose because I thought they could sort of work with that story and make it really cool because they had, and now they're just like abandoning it, and I'm starting to lose faith that they're ever going to go back to Josh Alexander at this point. So my fear is they're feeding him to Jonah to get a respectable win, and then where does that put Alexander? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm a little bit nervous.
I don't know. That would not be great.
I love Josh Alexander, and I love the story they told building him up to beat Kenny Omega, and now it's just like they've abandoned it altogether, and I'm not a big fan of that because Josh Alexander is awesome. We then get a recap of the X Division triple threat match at Turning Point, where Macklin didn't win, but he also wasn't the one pinned because even you saw the spot and thought it was kind of cool. Trey pinned both of them at the same time. Macklin got his shoulder up.
Right, because I was curious. Because I saw that Trey had retained, so I was actually curious how they did that. So I thought that was kind of interesting, yeah.
So, yeah, Macklin got his shoulder up, but Laredo Kid did not, right? And ended up taking the pin. So Gia talks to Trey about that, and Trey says he's a little bit disappointed because he had specifically said before the match that he wanted to win by beating Macklin specifically. And he says his biggest challenge has been trying to pin or submit Macklin because it still hasn't happened in his time in Impact. So Macklin immediately, a vicious attack, throws Trey into some lockers, fights off a security guy, chokes Trey with a extension cord that he finds sitting there, and then security, like 3 or 4 security, get a hold of Macklin and hold him in place so that Trey can jump off of something high onto the pile of people. What did you think?
I thought Trey's promo was fine. I don't think he sounds
fine.
The best.
He's not.
But Macklin's attack I thought looked pretty great because he looked pretty like killer and vicious. I thought it ended really weird. I thought the dive just felt like kind of
unnecessary.
Weird. It just didn't work.
Let Macklin look strong, right?
And then they're just all lying on the ground at the end too.
Yeah, I'm glad. I hope you like Macklin because I think he's awesome. We didn't get to see much of him here, but I agree. Like his attack looked really vicious, throwing him into the lockers, and then it was just kind of like Trey recovers well enough really quickly to just climb up on top of whatever it was and jump onto the group. So I would have much preferred they let Macklin look strong here and sort of just walk away after he beats down Trey. But I'm hoping that they're going to give Macklin a shot with the belt, and that's why they're trying to make Trey look strong here. But who knows? We then move into the most professional wrestler segment with Brian Myers, and it is segment number 52, and it is titled Distance Learning this week. So Zicky Dice and VSK are backstage, and they call Myers. Myers answers the phone and immediately wants to know how Zicky Dice got his number. So I kind of find that funny, right? Because he's basically their mentor, yet they still don't have his contact information. Because I think he's a heel and he thinks he's that much better than them. So Dice says that he got it from Cardona's phone, and then Myers immediately hangs up. VSK quickly calls Myers back. Zicky Dice reminds him sort of in the background how VSK lost to Swan really bad at Turning Point, or really fast or something, which I thought was kind of funny too. VSK and Zicky Dice then promise Brian Myers that they will take care of Finjuice. I thought it was tonight, but it wasn't tonight, so obviously it's in the future at some point.
No, I think they said next week.
Okay, makes sense. What did you think of this? Have you seen Zicky Dice before?
No, but I vaguely know who he is.
And you've seen VSK on AEW, I think, right? He was on there for a jobber enhancement match, I'm pretty sure.
I know he was at least on Dark.
Promos are not his strength, I'll say that.
He might have been on Dynamite.
Yeah.
I thought Zicky was kind of amusing, but other than that, it wasn't super interesting, and they're clearly not winning.
I kind of agree. I think Zicky Dice is really entertaining and does a good job in his sort of, I don't even know what he is. He's like an 80s character. I don't know, he used to have like a fanny pack, and he's just an interesting character. VSK is not very engaging as a character, but I really do like him in the ring, and I think he's a good fit for Impact at least. So Moose and Morrissey are then backstage. Moose wants to make sure that Matt Cardona doesn't get close to the title, and it seems like Morrissey's kind of losing confidence that Moose is going to follow through, and he's basically like, I don't think Matt Cardona's my problem. Moose lets him know that if Cardona gets the title, Morrissey definitely won't get a title shot, which is a fair point. Morrissey is kind of doubting that Moose will give him his shot, but Moose says that if Morrissey agrees to help with Cardona, then he will get that title shot, and Morrissey does agree to end the segment. What do you think?
I thought this was solid, actually. I thought it was good that Morrissey is kind of noticing that Moose is imposing, and rather than him looking stupid. And then I thought Moose was holding up the title too much.
Yeah, did you? Yeah. I like that Moose is constantly like delaying Morrissey's promised title shot, and that, like you said, Morrissey's starting to sort of lose faith slowly in Moose following through on that promise. It's an interesting story between two heels, right? Which almost never happens, really, where two heels are engaged for this long and there's some sort of story going on there, because they're not actually a team or anything, like you said, right? They're just sort of a brief alliance right now. Right. So I thought this was another solid segment. I actually prefer Morrissey speaking to Morrissey in the ring most of the time at this point. We then get the rematch of all rematch. It's Rachel Ellering taking on Savannah Evans, and Savannah dominates early with her power until Ellering hits her with three shoulder tackles to take her down finally. We get a Northern Lights suplex by Evans, a butterfly suplex by Evans, then an STO by Ellering, but Evans catches a twisting leg drop off the second rope. Ellering tried to hit right after that. We get a kickback DDT by Savannah Evans for a 2 count. Ellering fights back with a baseball slide kick, a low cutter, and 3 consecutive sentons, but can still only pick up a 2 count. Tasha Steelz briefly gets involved. Jordan Grace chases her around the ring, and Steelz runs right into the ring and gets hit by a cutter from Ellering and then rolls out of the ring. So Ellering then picks up Savannah Evans on her shoulder, picks up not the cleanest TKO in the world, but Savannah Evans is a big woman, so it's not going to be easy. But she does hit the TKO for the win. Rachel Ellering defeats Savannah Evans. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was just okay. I didn't think either of them did anything that interesting or looked great. And the finishing move it looked botched because it was definitely not a TKO. They were going for that, but
fireman's carry, like stunt cutter or whatever. Right?
It didn't even look like her. Like she kind of landed like not like you. It
wasn't perfect for sure. I actually liked this match. I would say it's a solid knockouts match. I liked it as strong.
It was okay.
Because to me, this is the best Savannah Evans has looked. You were watching it with me. I was kind of surprised by the Northern Lights and the butterfly suplex.
Yeah, she did get a couple of decent things in, yeah.
So I thought she looked better than she has because she has a really cool look, right? She looks like a legit butt-kicking woman. So I'm glad to see her.
She looks like a cannibal.
Sort of improving. She just looks tough. She looks big and strong and mean, right? So I really want to like her. So I thought this was the best I've seen her. I thought it was a pretty good Knockouts TV match, to be honest.
Yeah.
We then get Caleb and Madison Rayne, and she's back. Tennille Dashwood, just gone for a month or so with no explanation. I even looked it up on the internet, could not find out where Tennille went, but she's back. I thought
she said something about vacation. I don't know how real that is.
I honestly thought they dropped her and she was gone, and they just like plugged in Madison Rayne and hoped nobody really noticed or cared. But Tennille's back. So Rayne and Caleb sort of catch Tennille Dashwood up on everything that's happened during her absence. They mentioned being in Wrestle House because, again, they are, and they escaped somehow tonight too.
But they're back.
And they do let Tennille know that the Inspiration are now in Impact. Dashwood immediately wants to see them. So I think there's a commercial. We come back from the break, and they are going to find Inspiration. And we see Inspiration. There's like a close-up of them like putting lip gloss onto one another, I think it was.
I believe so.
So we get a little bit of a tease of tension between Dashwood and the Inspiration because they're all Australian, right? So the theory is they know each other. And they have
pretty similar gimmicks.
They do. They really do. So they sort of tease having tension, but eventually Dashwood and Inspiration all hug. They're all friends, apparently. So Caleb tries to get involved in their conversation, and it looks like everybody's kind of leaving Madison Rayne out at this point. What did you think of this? Because that was the end of it.
I thought it was fine. I thought the interaction between them was kind of funny, and they are pretty similar, and I guess they would have been in NXT or at similar times.
Possibly, I think, yeah.
I think they probably were, yeah.
So Tennille's back. It looks like they're kind of now going to force Rayne out of that group. I'm sure it's going to lead to a Tennille Rayne program is what I would think. I just find Inspiration fun, you know what I mean? Even when they're doing almost nothing, like they were here, they're just entertainment on an episode of Impact. So they're definitely not here for their in-ring ability, although people I see were trying to say that their most recent match was really good because they did some actual like technical chain wrestling and stuff, which they did. So maybe they're getting better. But I just find them entertaining, so I'm glad to have them on Impact. We then get Violent by Design taking on Willie Mack and Rich Swann, because obviously, as I said, this is Violent by Design starting to string some wins together, right, on their way to trying to challenge for the tag titles.
Absolutely.
So Diener and Doring are the ones representing Violent by Design in this one, and Mack and Swann dominate Diener early on, including their leg drop splash combination. Doring eventually comes in without a tag and just levels Willie Mack, which I thought was a pretty cool heel move, right? Like, he just walks in and stops Mack's momentum by running him over. Like, what are you going to do about it? Then he does tag in, and Violent by Design isolate Willie Mack for a bit. Mack fights back with, always looks good, his pop-up forearm. Such a simple thing, but I think it looks really good. Then we get a hot tag to Rich Swann. He dominates Diener, knocks Doring off the apron. Eric Young distraction it slows Swann down for a second, but not really. He just kind of goes up on the ropes and hits his 450 right after that and pins Diener for the win. So Violent by Design, since they can never win in a match, they beat down Mack and Swann afterward until Rhino and Heath run out and make the save and take out Violent by Design. Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just fine again. I feel like I'm gonna have to bring that back now.
It is back. You've said it a bunch already.
I thought some of Mac's offense was cool, but other than that, it was an average kind of short TV tag. Post-match stuff wasn't super interesting and fairly basic. Didn't really do much for me.
And I just don't need to see this go on. So shame on me for thinking Violent by Design might actually start to pick up wins against teams that don't really have any momentum. It's not like Swann and Mack are...
Well, they do now.
Right, I guess so. So another Violent by Design loss after talking tough in a cool vignette. Same as always, no change. Spinning their wheels, I find, just every week. And then just a really standard basic tag team match, right? But it was pretty short. Like, I don't think it was good. It was just kind of a standard match. Johnny Swinger and Hernandez are backstage, and they are so happy to be part of Wrestle House 2 last week. And then Rohit, Raju, and Raj Singh interrupt.
Are they just done it with Wrestle House? Because they just did that 2-hour special randomly. So is that like the entire Wrestle House?
I really hope that is the case. I don't know because I didn't watch it up to the end, right? It wasn't on this show.
If it's so long and now they're all back here,
maybe
that's kind of like
a one-off special
right?
for Thanksgiving.
Like,
please, I hope you're right. That's a great idea.
I could see that being possible, but
Me too.
But for your suffering, I hope it's not.
I never thought about it, but you're right because they are all basically back, so who knows. So Rohit and Raj are upset that no one invited them to Wrestle House. And just as Swinger tells them how great Wrestle House is, Lawrence D, formerly Larry something. Larry D, I guess?
Larry D.
Yeah,
from Triple XL.
Right. But now the other one is gone. AC is gone. So Lawrence D interrupts. So that's his suave, sort of sophisticated persona, if you will. So Raju and Lawrence D, get into it. And of course, it's going to set up a singles match between the two of them next week. They cough and choke over Lawrence's cologne to end the segment. Thoughts on this little comedy bit that Impact does so well? Nope.
It was whatever. I can't believe Rohit's actually upset about not being in Wrestle House.
Right. Poor Rohit.
I'd be upset about being in it.
And I just don't like that Wrestle House is sort of infecting the regular show now. I just want to keep these things separate. Hopefully it is done as you're suggesting. Rohit deserves better than to be in a program with Lawrence. You need to figure out what you're doing with Rohit. He's awesome. Having him as a low mid-card guy, it just doesn't work for me anymore. He needs more attention than this. And they need to limit the amount of comedy they try to do because they don't do it well. So main event time. It's Morrissey and Moose taking on Cardona and Eddie Edwards. So Moose tags out right away because he doesn't want to face Cardona. So the faces then isolate Morrissey early after he has a bit of power stuff early. Then the faces get control. They take out the heels on the floor on either side of the ring. I think it was Cardona's baseball slide drop kick thing, and I don't remember
Wrecking ball drop kick.
I don't remember what Edwards did on the other side, but I'm sure it was amazing. Morrissey gets control of Cardona on the break with a side slam, they show us. He then shoves Eddie off the top to the floor, which looked like a really hard fall for Edwards. It was like a legit shove. Sometimes, you know, when they walk up and they try and make it look like a shove, but the other guy's kind of falling back already.
Right.
This looked like he literally just shoved him off. It looked like a hard fall. The heels then take their turn isolating Eddie Edwards using their size and power for the most part. We get a really hard double Irish whip that sends Eddie chest first into the corner. It looked painful. Moose then pulls Cardona off the apron to stop a tag, and the heels continue their beatdown of Edwards. We get a Cardona hot tag eventually, and he takes the fight to Moose right away. We have all four in the ring a bit later for a boot exchange, and all four of them end up down on the mat.
I thought the Cardona Moose, like, it
simultaneous
it
boot. Yeah, it wasn't. They were kind of falling backwards, you could see, as the boots were coming.
I just thought Cardona's really didn't connect.
Right. A nice suicide dive by Eddie Edwards takes Morrissey into the barricade, and then he's kind of out on the floor. We get a Uranagi by Moose to Cardona, and he sets up for a spear from the corner, but Cardona avoids it, rolls up Moose for a near fall. Then moments later, Moose goes for another Uranagi, and Cardona counters that, rolls up Moose, and does pick up the pinfall win here. So as Striker signs off, Morrissey out of nowhere kind of drops Moose with a big boot, stands over him basically as the show ends. Actually, no, he stood over him, then walked to the apron and sort of glared at Moose, the fallen Moose, as the show ended. So what did you think of the match, the angle to finish, all of it?
I don't know. I thought another fine match. Like, nothing here has been good.
I didn't think it was very good.
A couple decent moves, but overall nothing much to write home about. And I don't love that the Cardona win over Moose, even if it is a roll-up. Good for Morrissey for kicking Moose in the face, though.
Yeah, I don't think it was a very exciting main event. When Moose and Morrissey were in control, they're just so deliberate, and it was just basic stuff, right? I don't mind when Moose works that style because he'll mix in some cool looking moves along the way, but when it was him and Morrissey, it was just really basic, slow stuff on Eddie. It wasn't super interesting. Cardona doesn't do much for me in general. It's just the same stuff I've been watching for whatever 15, 20 years. And Eddie Edwards doesn't impress me a ton either at times, although he has had some matches I've enjoyed lately. So I kind of thought this was a lackluster main event. It was mostly to get to the post-match angle, I guess, which I do find the most interesting part of this, because again, we have two heels now, right? And they have issues with each other. So I guess we'll see where that goes. So your overall thoughts and your first ever letter grade for an episode of Impact?
Yeah, it was an okay show. Like, none of the matches really impressed me, and none of the segments were that great.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was anything that was, like, super bad.
Agreed.
So I'll be nice and give it a C+.
Wow, all right. So I thought this was a pretty solid episode of Impact. I didn't love it either, and I want people like Macklin on my show for sure. All of the matches seem to get a bit more time than they usually do some weeks, and I liked the Ray Walt Sabin match, and I actually liked the Evans Ellering matches too. I thought Jonah's debut was the squash it should have been. Moose and Cardona had a really good segment to start the show, and the Morrissey turn on Moose at the end I liked as well. No actual Wrestle House was nice, but we still got multiple references to it, which I didn't love. So no Good Brothers is a plus. It wasn't a chore for me to get through this week, but I don't think it was a standout either. So I'm giving it a slightly higher grade, but in the same ballpark. I got a B- from me this week. Are you willing to keep watching it? I guess that's the question.
I'll maybe try it again, and then I don't know. It also depends what we can find instead.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about Rampage, but then we become kind of like an AEW podcast, right? Which, I mean, at the end of the day, if that's what we enjoy watching, then that's what we enjoy watching.
Is what I enjoy watching.
So, anyways, we can talk about it and figure it out. So, people, let us know if you want to give us any feedback. Should we keep doing the kind of more in-depth Impact? Would you rather we pick up like NXT UK or New Japan Strong, or I don't know, make a suggestion to us?
And if you tell me to watch NXT 2.0, I'm gonna say no.
Right. So that will bring us to our next segment where we talk about whatever we kind of want to talk about, and that is any other wrestling business. So I'm going to start out talking about a little bit of NXT really quickly because I just can't stop.
You're really making me want to put my headphones back on.
I can't stop watching it.
You have to.
I can't give it up. I've seen every episode ever.
Show some self-respect.
I don't know. But anyways, really quickly, really good opener. Best match probably of the 2.0 era between Kaylee Ray. She actually defeated Dakota Kai in a ladder match, so they went with the faces having the advantage, which is sometimes odd.
I was surprised, yeah.
Me too. They both worked really hard. There were a lot of cool spots here. Kaylee Ray finally got to show off her aggressive style and her willingness to pretty much do anything. So this was finally the showcase for her that I've been waiting for. She looked great here. Really good match between... Imagine that. If you let veterans that know how to wrestle in a lengthy match, it actually looks good.
That doesn't sound right.
No, I know. That is definitely not NXT policy, but that's what happened here. Then we get another... Weird. Oh, you saw this, I think. The really bad Grizzled Young Veteran segment. They're trying to break into the lockers. They're interrupted by jacket time, and they all just start shushing each other.
Oh, yes. That was great, actually. I really liked it.
Horrible, cartoonish segment. Couldn't stand it. Then Cameron Grimes beat Andre Chase in a fairly quick enhancement match. And then, of course, Hudson comes out, does the overdone little thing where he displays Photoshop pictures of Grimes with stupid haircuts and no beard. Did you see that?
Yes.
And honestly, none of them looked like Cameron Grimes without the beard. Like, it didn't look like him at all.
Like, I feel like there's like a bit, but like, it's just stupid.
Oh, it's that whole like, look, Photoshop pictures, ha ha ha. I think it's usually baby faces doing it though. But anyways, of course, he settles on the completely bald is what he's going for when he faces Grimes. So fine. We then get a vignette for another new debut, right? Edris Enofe, I think it was. He talks about doubters wanting him to fail as he grew up. He spent 5 years in the military, found the same doubters when he returned. He talks about, compares himself to Solo Sikoa being a street fighter. They're not all that different, and he's going to prove his doubters wrong because he's going to take on Sikoa tonight. I thought at least this guy's not being given a cartoon character with one like distinguishing characteristic like everybody else. So I thought it was okay. I mean, I don't think he was amazing on the mic, but at least it's not like, here's my one overdeveloped thing. That's all we're ever going to talk about. It was like kind of realistic, which is a nice change of pace. Mm-hmm. We then get, I don't know if you saw this, I thought it was a pretty bad in-ring segment with all of the members of the 2.0 WarGames team taking a chance to talk here. I even thought Carmelo Hayes, who usually sounds good, I didn't think he sounded very good here. I didn't love it. Gargano came out.
Well, I mean, Truck Williams sounded great, right?
He's awful. Gargano came out, and he was really good. He challenged Breakker to fight him alone in the ladder match tonight and to leave all the other members of his team backstage. Breakker basically agrees. So I thought Gargano was really good there, and everybody else not so much. But again, we're just watching them learn how to act on television live, so that's why kind of one of the reasons we gave it up, right? Mm-hmm. Well, almost gave it up. Legato
I did.
Then talked to Mackenzie, and they say they'll beat Wagner and O'Reilly tonight, and we'll leave WarGames draped in gold. Sure you will. We get another really bad MSK segment to keep things consistent, so they're still looking for the shaman, and they even make a joke themselves about how this has taken like 5 weeks. And it ends with them knocking on the shaman's door, so that's the big suspense. I guess we'll get the reveal next week. I don't care. They've spent 5 weeks doing this. and I still don't care at all. And it's
Shawn Michaels.
It's making them look worse and worse every week.
Who could it be though?
Then
Triple H.
I don't know. Wagner and O'Reilly, surprise, defeat Legado del Fantasma in what was a decent match, I guess. But again, it's O'Reilly sell and Wagner saves him, right? So poor Kyle O'Reilly. O'Reilly's there to take offense.
They literally made him look worse.
He basically takes offense, hits 2 moves, tags out, Wagner dominates them. So Kyle looks, again, I don't know if this is real, why Wagner would choose O'Reilly as his partner, because he does nothing. He offers nothing, right? It's all Wagner doing everything. Anyways, it angers me slightly. Mackenzie talks to Imperium about facing Wagner and O'Reilly. Wagner O'Reilly. Wagner and Kyle O'Reilly interrupt, and Wagner ends the segment by saying, "We'll see you at WarGames, dumbasses," in his amazingly wooden, awful delivery. We then get Tiffany's epiphanies, right? So she talks about how her daddy has always called her his little princess, and a princess should have the best. Besides, who even looks at price tags anyways? Her daddy says she can be anything she wants, and she wants to be an NXT superstar. So that was it. And I guess my news last week about them maybe dropping this character, because again, most of the people that watch the show are over 50, and they're presenting this woman in a certain way, but it's really childish and lame. And this is, like I was talking with Anafe, right? At least he's got a somewhat realistic character, and it's not just one thing.
Sucked.
This is one thing. She's daddy's girl, and it's ridiculous, and it's her whole character. I can't imagine it's going to be good, but I guess we'll give it a chance. So Gacy is having like some, I forget what it's called, an inclusivity match of some type, right? And he's gonna
damn it, I forgot.
He's gonna take on 3 people at once. So one is really small, one is really, really big, who I've seen on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood before.
He looked pretty dumb.
Really big. He looks like a shorter Mabel, kind of, like he's that big.
Oh, he just got roasted.
One woman, right? So Diamond Mine.
Intergender. Ooh.
So he quickly dispatches of the small guy. Then the woman gets in.
Was it elimination or?
No.
No, he just got rid of him.
But yeah, he pinned him, and then he's gone. And then he faces...
So it's elimination.
I guess so. I don't know. Who cares? And then he's about to face the woman, because like, oh my goodness, are they actually doing intergender stuff in NXT? Nope. Roderick Strong ends up attacking Gacy. Long story short, as Diamond Mine come out, Gacy basically lands a shot and then runs away. Solo Sikoa then defeats this new guy, Edris Anafe, in about 4 minutes with a Samoan drop and a top rope splash.
So I see that vignette was useful.
And they got 4 minutes, so that's a lengthy match by their standards. Nothing special, it was fine. Boa then comes in and attacks Sikoa after the match. Anafe sort of tries to make the save, but he gets taken out by Boa, and then Boa avoids a Sikoa super kick, but escapes there. So we get a show of respect kind of between Sikoa and Edris, so I don't know if they're a team or whatever, and I'm not sure what's going on with Boa, but we'll find out.
Who is the veteran?
Yes. Zion Quinn is leaving, and he's asked about the fight with, how the fight with Santos Escobar ended. I don't even remember how it ended. Do you?
What fight?
I don't know. He says it's just the beginning. Electra Lopez shows up saying she wishes he wouldn't fight with Legado. And again, there's this underlying sexual tension between them, I think is the point. But she appreciates someone...
what other point could there possibly be, right?
She appreciates someone who walks to the beat of their own drum, right? So even though she's disappointed he didn't join the group, she respects his individuality.
No, even though he's not going to join with them, she still thinks he's hot, so she's okay with it.
That's right. She says good luck with his match against Santos next week because he's going to need it. And then we get Persia Parada and Indy Hartwell squash 2 jobbers in like a minute and a half, so good for them. And then we get a decent main event ladder match with Gargano and Breaker. I thought it was okay. I much preferred the...
Braun Breaker? Decent? Wow.
He's pretty
Christmas
good, man.
Miracle.
I don't know why you hate him so much. He's not... Of all of the new crop on 2.0...
I hate him the almost most.
Wow. So I much preferred the women's version of this match that started the show, but I don't think that this was a bad match at all. So a standard NXT 2.0 show at this point where you get a good match to start, or a decent match to start, a decent match to finish. In this case, I thought a really strong match to start and a decent match to finish, and then a bunch of just uninteresting to bad stuff in between, where you have people
you could probably just save your time and call crap.
Where you're basically watching people learn on the job, and if that's interesting to you, then I guess you probably like it, but it's not to me. So I would give this show, on the strength of the opening match, I can give this a C-.
I would go to say if you find it interesting, I would say you need psychiatric help.
I can move it out of the D range because of the strength of that opener. So I will give it a C- this week. And then I would honestly say, go out of your way to watch the women's ladder match. It was really good. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, even if they have a good show, I don't even know if I can go back to this because they've just offended me greatly.
What if, like, for 2 weeks, I'm like, it was awesome, dude. Honestly, it was awesome. Could happen.
Then I would think you're pranking me, especially
probably.
If it was in
just
late
trying to
March.
make you suffer with me.
Yeah.
All right, what did you wanted to make some predictions?
And so we're going to preview NXT WarGames because that's tomorrow, and I'll watch that. And I will not watch the weekly show because they don't deserve that.
I think that's fair.
So Team 1.0 versus Team 2.0, that WarGames match.
I mean, just the way things are going, how is it not 2.0, right?
But here's the thing, the baby faces always win, literally every time.
But is it
except for the first one?
Isn't there like a mixture though?
I guess so, but like you could. I mean, you said LA Knight's kind of a baby face, and I don't know.
Right? It's just a mishmash of like people. I don't think they even cared.
Since I don't care, I'll pick Team 1.0 because I don't hate them.
I just think that it's the end of veterans winning things, basically. Probably, especially on a pay-per-view.
That's fair.
I'll take 2.0.
I just don't. I don't want to not pick Pete Dunne. I also don't want to pick a team where Braun Breaker and Tony D'Angelo are on the same team.
I think this whole match is going to be let's showcase Braun Breaker. I hate to tell you.
Yeah, I'm probably going to hate it then.
Yeah.
Team Raquel versus Team Mandy.
Same. Like, not the veterans, so it's Toxic Attraction, man. They're winning. They're like, this entire brand is Toxic Attraction, Braun Breaker, and Von Wagner, I would say. So I don't see them losing.
Yeah,
right?
That's so
I hope I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong.
Yeah, I'd love to be wrong because Toxic Attraction are probably my least favorite thing on the show, and then Tony D'Angelo, and then Braun Breaker.
I have interest in this match because it could be a dumpster fire.
It could, because what their whole faction sucks, and then Cora Jade sucks.
I just don't want anyone to get hurt, but I think we could see some injuries.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have, like, there's actually more experienced talent than I thought. Because Raquel, Io, Kaylee Ray, and Dakota are all.
Because the one Toxic Attraction girl whose name escapes me.
Jane.
She's almost hurt herself in regular matches multiple times.
Well, and
right?
but the other two also suck.
Yeah. Next.
Roger Strong versus non-cruiserweight dude. NXT Cruiserweight Championship.
Gacy.
Yeah, I agree, because
and then they get rid of the 205, the cruiserweight title.
They want to get rid of that, which I think they're dumb. But
and they could honestly, just because they think this whole woke heel character is so great that they'll make it like the inclusivity title or something you watch.
Instead of it being like normal, like an open weight title or something.
That's what it'll be.
The championship for all.
Yep, and we'll see where it goes, but I think Gacy's winning, which seems crazy. That actually could be a good match because Gacy can work, right? So, and Roddy's awesome, so that match has a chance to be good.
Yeah. Imperium versus Kyle O'Reilly and that thing for the tag titles.
I'm gonna take. I gotta stick to my guns and take the rookies. Well, rookie, take the mentor Wagner and his protege O'Reilly. Although maybe
it's tough because Imperium just won the titles too.
Although maybe they could tell a story and that O'Reilly is the one that gets pinned because he does nothing in these matches. Because
he's small and he's weak. And O'Reilly hasn't resigned yet. Yet. I'm gonna take Imperium.
That's smart. I'll stick with my youth though.
Okay.
But I could see them having Wagner turn, right? And think that now
I don't know,
he's a single
I think maybe they'll...
Because they have no respect for tag teams. So if they really think that Von Wagner is like, and I think they do think that, then they'll get him out of a tag team. Because tag teams aren't for stars, right? So according to them.
They put him in the title match the first night, just randomly took out O'Reilly and put him in there.
So I think they have big plans. So I may regret that pick, but I'll stick with it. I won't change it.
What I assume will be the match of the year and the main event, Duke Hudson versus Cameron Grimes in hair versus hair match. I can't see either of them getting shaved, but I feel like Hudson would be more likely to get shaved.
Okay, you're taking Hudson? I'll take Grimes.
No, I mean, like, I feel like Hudson would lose.
Oh, right. I will take Grimes to lose I'm saying take him to get the haircut. So I'll take Hudson. I just think that they want to repackage Grimes. I have this feeling that they want to like clean cut him up and try something new with him, which I think is stupid.
Because that's not him.
I'm just assuming they're going to do the opposite of what they should do, which is probably a pretty...
That seems to be what they've done the whole time, considering they gave Toxic Attraction all of them championships.
Right.
So...
Right,
and they're booking Von Wagner to team with Kyle O'Reilly.
Is that all the matches?
Yep, there's only 5. So should be a merciful, quick night.
So that's going to bring us into our final segment of the show where Jack's going to update us on the world of wrestling action figures and accessories, I guess. And that is what we call Figuring It Out with Jack.
I have only one thing.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's fine.
So the only thing, it is actually quite interesting though, because I'll
be the judge of that.
We have, okay, that's fair. We have Elite 92 images, which that doesn't sound interesting on the surface, but just give me a second, because the series includes Scarlet, which remember it's the one with the crappy face scan.
Right.
Rey Mysterio and that orange and black one they showed a little while ago.
Yep.
And Charlotte Flair in like this like kind of lavender purple gear with the women's tag title. I think I showed you.
Single, which wasn't in our news. Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
Officially, she and Andrade are over.
Good for him.
Right.
I was even saying like that doesn't even benefit him anymore, right?
Distancing yourself from the Flair family in this particular moment seems like a wise thing to do.
And she's plastic. And then, so now we get into the interesting half of the set, because obviously there's 6 figures, and I only covered 3. So we have Ric Flair.
Nice.
Which is kind of interesting, because he's gone, and also in controversy.
Somewhat disgraced, yes.
The Burnt Fiend figure, because he's also gone, so he's still getting a figure. And despite, like, they had plenty of time to cancel it, and he's elsewhere, Adam Cole.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
So whole line of people that don't work there anymore.
Right, half of the people in the set are gone.
That's cool.
The Adam Cole's from his recent solo run, like when he was facing Riding, like that kind of dark green with the gold lines. And then the Chase variant is Adam Cole from TakeOver WarGames in the camo gear to kind of round out the camo quartet for the Undisputed Era. So that's pretty nice. I'm surprised we're still getting Rick Fiend and Cole, but I can't wait to hopefully get both Coles. Because I will get the normal one. I'm hoping I can find that camo one eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I'll at least get the standard one. I've been waiting on new Cole for ages because I have the first Cole figure from that 3-pack, but the ankle has just been busted forever.
That has driven you crazy.
And I hate it. And I missed the Elite 71 in the Fan Takeover. If I find the Fan Takeover, I'll get it. I think this is probably his best one so far. The head skin's pretty good. It's like a smirking one. Since the heads are interchangeable now, I really wish they just would have included the Bebe head now. Because now you can just take the heads off whenever you want, so that's nice. The Burnt Fiend and Charlotte also have the Ultimate Edition toe articulation for some reason. I hope they don't integrate that, because then, there's no reason to get the Ultimate Editions other than for extra accessories, I guess. Sometimes they have extra accessories, but then sometimes they don't. And then also, I find the toe articulation really annoying because I don't find it necessary.
Agree. I was going to ask you if it was.
And it just, like, it makes, like, it's another flimsy bit in the foot. You know what I mean?
Of all of the, like, improvements they could make, I feel like that's a weird choice.
Right. And I honestly, like, I don't like it, but I don't care if it's an Ultimate Edition line because I probably, for the most part, I won't buy that line. Like, I only have 2 of that line, and they're at Series 11 now. I have only 2. Because I remember I got Nakamura when we went to the SummerSlam shop.
Right.
When SummerSlam was in Toronto, and then I remember got the Demon Balor because it looked freaking awesome.
Right.
And the only way I will get another Ultimate Edition is if it's someone cool, like, I don't know, like AJ or Seth Rollins. My dream is an Ultimate Edition Seth Rollins with 2 different pants.
Good luck.
Or I suggested, because AEW does the gear packs now, because, you know, they have, like, a bunch of Amazon exclusive stuff. Like, they have the weapons packs, which I just got. Actually, I forgot to mention.
You did find one.
Markville Mall Walmart, they had the AEW barbed wire accessory pack, so I actually picked that up. Pretty nice.
Nice.
And they have, like, the tag team packs and the rival packs, which are just 2 packs. And they have a gear pack. So the one they had was the Jericho with the different jackets. I was saying they could have a Kenny Omega one. And since you can actually remove the bodies, you could have Kenny Omega 3 different pants.
You could.
Which, that's the dream, because it's 3 figures in one. And then you have 3 different attires. And I feel like it only works for guys like AJ, Kenny, or Seth, where they just have a million cool looking
outfits,
ring gears.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's it?
That's it. The Burnt Fiend looks super funny. If you haven't seen it yet, go to the Ringside's Instagram, look at it, 'cause it looks pretty funny.
Nice.
And, yeah. And the Charlotte's Born.
And that's going to bring us to the end of episode 72. So I imagine we'll try and get down here on Monday night to talk WarGames, right? If we can watch it all on tomorrow night.
Yeah, if I have to.
We should be able to find some time to come. So keep an eye out for that. It should be coming out Monday evening or maybe on Tuesday. But I'll try and get them down here on Monday, folks. And other than that, I really didn't feel like doing my Ring of Honor review this week, and I don't know if I'll go back to it, because again, they're about to go away, so I just didn't feel the motivation to check it out. I apologize.
Battle?
If I get an outcry of people complaining that they miss it, I would probably bring it back, but I don't think that's going to be the case, so we'll definitely be back next Saturday.
I'm waiting for Tyler Russ to face Sammy Guevara for the TNT title. Seems to be the narrative. Thank you.
So we'll for sure be back here next Saturday for episode 73. We hope to see you all back here then. And until then, take care.
Bye-bye.